The green flag that will be getting underway very shortly indeed. 2-hour race, and you can expect people to make the pit stops after 50 minutes. Joe Osborne did the qualifying time good enough for pole position. The car's going to be started though by Lee Mole, and with him at the front of the grid, Gregor Fiskin's Porsche. Then it's Marco Attard starting alongside Gary Eastwood. David Ashburn and Andrew Howard are on row 3. Mark Patterson is on the 4th row along with John Minshaw. Then it's John Dillon and Rob Smith on row 5. Jack Driver comes next ahead of Steve Tandy. Phil Driver lines up alongside Jason Minshaw. Then it is Mark Poole, and starting alongside him in the next of the Ginettas is going to be former National Hot Rod star Colin White. Gregoire de Moustier and Ahmad Al-Harfi come next on the grid. Have a look lower down. You'll see, for example, Team Parker Racing. Adrian Barwick and Bradley Ellis sharing the Ginetta. Ryan Ratcliffe, Rick Parfitt Jr. ones to watch, of course, in GT4. Keep an eye on Harry Whale and Richie Stanaway, single-seater star. Not eligible for points, but they certainly could take a class win in GT4. And at the back of the grid, Rory Bryant, who's had a class win, and Zoe Wenham, who's had 2 in their Ginetta. We're ready to go then. And I can say welcome back to British GT, to somebody who used to race in this championship, Charlie Butler-Henderson, a long time ago in your Marcos, and now we're looking at an ultra-professional championship. This is going to be one heck of a race, Charlie. Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. All of the kit downstairs that I've seen in all the pit garages, talking to the teams, the drivers, it's changed so much since around 2000 when I was doing the GTO class, which is now changed into the GT3s. In a Marcos, we had Porsches, Ferraris, Vipers. Now we've got Aston Martins, Ginettas, BMW Z4s. It's just unbelievable down there. The kit is unreal. So if you're watching at home, you're watching on trackside, and you get the Motors TV footage, you're in for a real treat. You know, last round. It's a pretty expensive grid out there, isn't it? It is, and the quality of driver, I mean, we've touched on a few of them. You've heard from Nick Tandy, who's drafted into the car by Porsche. Just touch on him for a moment. Strange situation. He was brought in to help David Ashburn win the championship. Well, because David has picked up penalty points, he can't win the championship. David has now got to help the pro. The AM has got to help Nick Tandy in this context. Yeah, it's crazy. So you've got AMs, which are amateur drivers, then we've got the professional drivers that obviously try and get the car qualified well to get it up as high on the grid as possible, and giving good setup as well to the car, and not making the car too hard to drive for the amateur. Then they can't cope with it, and then hopefully don't fire it off into the scenery. So lots of teamwork going on down in the pits. And we've got a great onboard here. You see factory Porsche driver doing some bit of weaving the tyres, going through the old hairpin. So they're twisting the wheel left and right, just trying to get temperature into the tyres. They will be doing a tyre change when they do their compulsory driver pit stop, and refuelling as well. So we've got a lot of action going on in the pit lane as well when that window opens later on. Indeed, the minimum a driver can do is 50 minutes. Therefore, it makes sense to bring your car in at the 50-minute mark, get your slower driver out, your quicker driver in. But if your car is going to be marginal on fuel and can't go for the other hour and 10 minutes, you therefore need to bring it in a bit later, but you're sacrificing lap times if you keep your slower driver in for a little bit longer. Porsches, we gather, are a bit marginal on fuel. BMW's rather less so. So whether there's going to be this mass influx at the 50-minute mark remains to be seen. Through the shot just went number 1 Porsche. Ahmad Al-Harfi starts in the Motorbase run Porsche. Oman Air Motorbase, the team name. Reigning champion Michael Caine to take it over. There is 44 Rick Parfitt Jr. His dad, the famous Status Quo musician, is here to cheer him on, and they've had a really good season with Rick Parfitt, Ryan Ratcliffe, the 2 drivers of this car. So yeah, Rick was actually gigging until 3 a.m. this morning in Manchester. I said, Manchester, Donington Park's not too far away. He goes, well, it was planned around my motorsport, obviously. So, and he did say that gigging is the same amount of buzz and adrenaline rush that he gets from racing as well. So he's found a good forte in 2 areas of his life. So absolutely. Fair play to him, and hopefully he did get a good night's sleep ready for today's action. Well, the car's working their way through the S's. Mercedes run by Fortec going through, started by Jason Minshaw. There the Seoul McLaren, Gregoire de Moustier starts, and you can see this mouth-watering grid we've been talking about as the cars now get themselves in this 2x2 rolling start formation. Lee Mole is the man on pole position. The qualifying time for these cars done by the faster driver, but in almost every case you will start your slower first. Why do it that way? Because if there is a late race safety car, you need your quicker driver in when everything is bunched up. You don't want the slower driver in, he'll just hemorrhage time, go backwards. So last year's finale was 3 hours and it was an absolute stormer. This has got a lot to live up to, but everything is in place for a fantastic showdown to round out the Avon Tyres British GT Championship season. The cars are about to turn their way through Roberts. Lee Mole versus Gregor Fiskin on the front of the grid. On the second row, Marco Attard and Gary Eastwood. Eastwood, the Tartan Porsche, Gregor Fiskin going to the inside as they turn their way now up towards the lights, which will be on red when the lights go out. 2 hours of racing with one mandatory pit stop is going to get underway now. Away they go. Lee Mole in the BMW makes a very good start from pole position. Gary Eastwood's red Ferrari in the background goes to the outside. Marco Attard on the inside. David Ashburn in the spotty Porsche. Through, they power their way now onto the top of the crane of curves. You're on board with Ashburn. Round the outside of him goes Gary Eastwood through Hollywood for the first time, and Lee Mole it is in the BMW who hangs on to the lead.
Yeah, tyres are still cold at this time, as you saw the onboard camera there getting a little bit sideways out of Redgate, the first corner. But as it looks, a fairly clean start as you get that beautiful shot through Craners. Now they climb up towards McLean's corner. Tyres are still cold. Everyone's trying to find their feet a little bit. From, you know, remember the pro drivers did qualify the car as well, so you've got a different sort of driving style out there with the amateur drivers at the moment. So everyone's trying to find their feet. It's a long race.
Lee Mole it is then, the hunted at the moment. He's leading. He's got Gregor Fiskin in a car that's had a win already this year at Rockingham, tucked up behind. And then in third place is Marco Attard. Gary Eastwood is fourth. In fifth is the Porsche of David Ashburn. Sixth is the Beechdene Ice Cream Aston. Andrew Howard at the wheel as the leaders come down toward the S's for the first time. There's a challenge being made there. Look on the inside line. That is Mark Patterson in the Audi. He's another championship contender. He's an outsider, but don't rule him out. And that's Steve Tandy in the second of the 888 BMWs. He and his co-driver Dan Brown are also in the mix. Now, expect 50 minutes or so from the slower drivers, then you get the pros in. The order is going to shuffle right the way through this race.
Yeah, definitely. And even though you said slower drivers, David, there we go, back on board now. So coming down into the Melbourne Loop, this circuit isn't actually used that much, the Grand Prix circuit here, so if you go offline or any overtaking manoeuvres are done, it's a bit marbly and a bit dusty, so we should be maybe seeing a few people out braking. And this is the GT4 Tussle, is it? Car number 44 that we've got an onboard in.
Rick Parfitt leading at the moment as the cars come over the timing line, but he's under pressure from Adrian Barwick in the Team Parker racing car. Around the outside, Phil Dryber, number 6 in the Aston Martin, having a go at Steve Tandy as the leaders work their way down through the crane of curves. Now they're starting to get away, and there's been a change for third place. Look, Gary Eastwood is ahead now of Marco Attard as the cars power uphill towards Schwantz curve. Looking lower down in GT4, as I say, Ratcliffe leading from Barwick, and then third in the class is Nathan Freak at the moment. This is for third place. Gary Eastwood ahead of Marco Attard, then David Ashburn. He's the man behind track speed and one of his customers. It's Gregor Fiskin as they work their way through Coppice. This is lap 2 out of 2 hours of racing. Another good little battle is developing lower down, where you've got John Dillon's Ferrari just ahead of Rob Smith in the Ginetta. Number 1 Porsche, Ahmad Al-Hafi, who was only 17th at the end of lap 1, but that car carries 75 kilos of extra weight, and that is because the driver grading is such that with the reigning champion and a class champion out of Carrera Cup GB, they are deemed to be exotic, and therefore you get 75 kilos, as also Duncan Tappy and Gregoire de Moustier get. Down towards the Melbourne hairpin. The other thing to factor into this, everybody's pit stop must be 110 seconds, but as Nick Tandy alluded to, those that are successful in the previous race carry extra time. No success ballast, success time instead, and therefore the order is going to be shuffled on the pit stops. Look at Al-Hafi here having a go at the Mark Poole Aston Martin around the outside, going into Roberts. That's brave stuff, and it doesn't pay off for him.
No, it doesn't pay off. That is a brave move to do. That could be a qualifying time, a lap going round the outside there to get a good run down the pit straight, but not when you're in this sort of tight pack that we can see at the moment. You sort of left yourself high to dry there, really, a little bit around the outside. So not ideal, but he's trying, and there's definitely going to be some changes within this mid-pack that we can see already, only on lap 3 now.
Another car to watch is the McLaren. Gregoire de Moustier at the wheel of it, at the head of that gaggle, just going down through the crane of curves. This is one of the few circuits Gregoire has raced on before in British GT. He was here in the FIA GT1 World Championship finale last year, going strongly. Now this little battle, John Dillon in the Ferrari, ahead of the experienced Rob Smith, who's done quite a lot of club racing for Ginetta. Those two have got themselves together nose to tail. This is for 9th and 10th places, up towards Coppice. Tricky corner this, double apex right.
Yeah, double apex right. You've got another bit of curbing, which we can just see on the inside of the screen there, which is where the bikers take. They take a tight line around there, which puts a lot of people off that are new to Donington because they think that's the racing line. But because a car is heavier and wider, it needs to disperse the power and the weight distribution across the track. So very difficult corner. That chicane as well, very, very tricky through the Fogarty chicane there. They're going down to second, third gear, some of the drivers, but you really can fling it through that chicane to get a good run down to the Melbourne Loop. Seeing Johnny Adam there looking on tenuously, bless him.
And what he's now seeing is his car being monstered because Andrew Howard has now dropped into the clutches of Mark Patterson in the United Autosports Audi, sharing with Matt Bell. They could be champions by the end of the race. It's a long shot, but it could just happen. And as the cars make their way over the line, that's Steve Tandy who has run wide. He wasn't the only one there as well. We've had drama down at Roberts. Now, who else has got caught up in that? Tandy is the significant one because he's a championship protagonist. You've got Phil Driver involved in this as well. At the head of that little queue, the Mercedes, David Jones starting in the Pressy Spark Mercedes, coming now out of Redgate and once more onto the top of the Craners. In trouble is 42 Ginetta. That's the Derek Johnston Luke Hines car. It's got damage at the back. I think that's broken suspension, isn't it? It looks as though that left rear wheel is a little bit wonky. It's crabbing its way. Oh yes, big suspension damage there, crabbing its way to the pits, Charlie.
That's definitely had a hit, yeah, definitely. So we saw a bit of action there just towards the last bit of that lap. Didn't quite manage to get to see what happened, but obviously not ideal. It could be replaced, you know, rear suspension corner. It's a long race, it's a GT team. They're prepared for all of these accidents, but it's not ideal for the race as it comes past our commentary box very slowly and feeling very sorry for itself. But good luck to that team to get that car back out.
De Moustier gaining a place coming into the S's, and that rather put Mark Poole off his stride in the Aston Martin, who's losing places hand over fist now, because right up alongside him has come Colin White there in the orange and white Ginetta. Colin, multiple national hot rod champion, and right round the outside also goes Ahmad Al-Hathi, number 1 in the motor-based Porsche. The Omani driver goes round the outside. He's got past the Aston.
And he's looking like he's going to take the Ginetta as well. That was a fantastic move, fantastic. If you can get it to stick around the outside, around the Melbourne Loop, you're then on the inside line for Roberts, which is the last corner, which we're looking at now, onto the pit straight. Great move, and also Colin White raced against him for many years in the Ginettas and over the years, and he's very, very defensive, makes his car very wide, and he's very, very good at overtaking. Fantastic racer. Derek
Johnston we saw heading for the pit lane. The incident between him and car 22, David Jones, is under investigation. So the Joneses, who are formidable opponents, I'm afraid, have drawn attention to themselves, or at least David Jones has already. That's David Ashburn in number 31. Now, he has fallen back, look, into the clutches now of Andrew Howard, and in turn, Andrew Howard has shaken off for the moment Mark Patterson. Remember, the last time we looked, they were nose to tail. Howard is catching Ashburn behind. Now, Patterson has dropped into the clutches. You'll see it in a moment there of the Demon Tweaks Porsche. John Minshaw at the wheel of it, and Andrew Howard flashing his lights rather cheekily at David Ashburn. Goes up the inside, coming down to the S's. Aston Martin on the inside, and through he goes. David Ashburn made that look fairly easy.
Yeah, made it stick, flashed the lights, gave a bit of harassment to the driver in front, and now, because of the line that the Porsche then had to take, has now left him vulnerable for another overtake with the Audi. So,
but there wasn't much defence there.
No, not much defence at all. But remember, it is a long race. GT drivers don't seem to get as close as touring car drivers do, but at the same time, there is a championship here.
Exactly.
Lots can happen, and it is happening as we speak.
David Ashburn is racing for Nick Tandy, effectively. Andrew Howard is racing for himself because his co-driver can't win. They're the two drivers in this slightly unusual situation. Now, this is for the race lead. It's still Lee Mole ahead, but only just. Gregor Fiskin is behind him. Now, bear in mind, Gregor Fiskin will give way to Richard Westbrook, who is one of the fastest drivers on the planet in a GT car, never mind in the British Championship. Lee Mole gives way to Joe Osborne. Joe is very quick as well. Behind them is Gary Eastwood. He gives way to Rob Bath. It's a quality lineup, this.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It's like going back to school downstairs again. You know, there's so many old faces that I've grown up with from karting all the way up to British GTs and seeing them around the Toka package over the last 10, 15 years. It's really, really good to see everyone down there, and yeah, it's fantastic and a really good atmosphere. Everyone seems to be enjoying their racing, which is why we're all here. So it's all good.
Now, as the race leaders work lap number 6, let's catch up on the Ginetta drama in the pit lane. Gary, what news?
Yeah, Derek Johnson is in that car. He's a very, very angry man, David. He says he was punted up the rear by the Joneses, and he is not very happy. To be honest, I think talking to you like an interview with a camera might be the best way of getting Derek Johnson's point of view across, if I'm honest.
The older you get, the more cowardly you get, Gary. I am noticing this, but that's the news. And from memory, the same thing happened at Brands Hatch. Derek Johnston and David Jones got together early in the race, and it was a similar grumpy outcome then, on both parts, actually. Over the timing line, we have Lee Mole ahead, and Gregor Fiskin is chasing after him. The lead gap is only half a second, and in the background, Gary Eastwood, much improved driver over the years, Gary. He came out of the BRDC single-seater championship through Formula Palmer Audi into Ferrari racing and then into the GT Cup and now British GT, and gets better and better all the time. There is John Minshaw. His brother Jason is lower down the order at the moment in the Fortec Rum Mercedes, and Rob Smith is closing on John Dillon. So everywhere you look, there's a battle going on. The outright leader remains Lee Mole. There he is in the 888 Optimum BMW Z4, and in GT4 you saw the Aston Martin go through. Now there's this great little battle going on between Adrian Barwick and Zoe Wenham. Now this is quite a long way down within GT4, but it's a good scrap, and Zoe Wenham to the inside line, very nearly making contact, but Zoe Wenham was going to have that place, come what may.
Yeah, definitely, that was a very, very, boisterous move from a young lady. Yeah, she definitely wasn't taking any prisoners there. Very, very near contact there, but just sort of showing that this is my line, I'm taking this place back, and as he, Touche, come back again, but she's now going to be on the inside line for Redgate if she's got the power down early enough, so it's going to be a Ginetta drag race down towards the first corner at Redgate, which is a third corner, around 55-60 mile an hour corner. So great bit of action from these two, and she's got the place back.
And that place is 6th in GT4. The team manager of car 6, incidentally, which is the field driver John Gore Aston, is being summoned to race control. So also is the team manager of car 42 Ginetta, the Derek Johnston car. So if Derek was grumpy before, he might be even more grumpy post team manager visit to race control. This is for the outright lead. Lee Mole cannot shake off the Porsche. The BMWs don't like... That's, of course, the Grand Prix loop. They like this bit with all the momentum. That's Adrian Barwick who's spun. Adrian Barwick, who was battling with Zoe Wenham, has lost it at the old hairpin, and the leaders are bearing down on him.
Right, and literally just as that move took place at Redgate Corner that we perfectly saw on the cameras, I saw that yellow striped car that's just spun off at the old hairpin had a bit of a twitch on the way down, so maybe went down the gears too quickly, locked up the rears in the excitement of what we've just seen, and then spun. What a shame.
Adrian Barwick, new to GT racing, Caterham racer, just runs very, very wide, all over the grass, and then what happens?
And then basically just loses it on the grass, really, to be honest with you. Could have kept that going if he'd have just kept it a little bit straighter, could have actually just rejoined where our camera's picking up the shot from, but a bit of a shame, and I'm sure that they will resume battle once he catches her back up again.
David Ashburn has spun. The number 31 Porsche has spun. That's coming out of McLean's by the look of it, and he's going nowhere.
Not a good place to spin either. Really stricken car, and that's the Tandy car. Something looks like it's on the
I was going to say it's low, isn't it?
Rear. Looks like there's a bit of damage, either a puncture or contact.
But David Ashburn needs to get this going, doesn't he? Because he's in danger of losing a lap, if nothing else, never mind all the places. The race leaders are coming up towards the end now of lap number 8. Lots gone on so far, a lot more to come. It's still Lee Mole ahead of Gregor Fiskin, but David Ashburn, I fear, might have had one of his red mist moments. He's had a drama, that's for sure, but was it a spin or something broken? It did look as though the car was just a little bit low to me, and it's still not going anywhere. Now, if that doesn't move, we're going to get a safety car, surely. The door is open, and David Ashburn wants some assistance to get the car off the road. Let's have a look at a replay. It still looks to me as though that's gone down on the left rear corner. Yeah,
left rear corner, and you can see just a little bit of rear bumper just sort of hanging off there as well. Maybe that the tyre or suspension's broken. But he didn't really seem to sort of fight earlier on when the Aston Martin passed in the 007 car. Maybe that there was a problem that maybe started and it's just given up. But you don't want to be stuck there on the exit of McLean's. It's a fast uphill corner.
Now, number 6 with a problem. The team manager's already been summoned to race control, but now the front damage to the Aston Martin. That's Phil Driver going into the garage. It's steaming from the front of that car. John Gore, who's the head of AMR, is the man standing in front, realising he doesn't need to put on his overalls. Now, that rather looks like the end of the day for that car. And there is John Gore, who goes to investigate further, but I think the day, sadly, is done.
Yeah, you can tell by the body language of the mechanics, can't you? A lot of smoke there coming from the brakes and the engine, and a bit of bodywork damage.
Safety car has been deployed. This is because of David Ashburn's Porsche. So we go safety car, and that's going to bunch everybody up. The safety car is there, ready to go. The legend is on the screen, but it wants to try and pick up the leader. John Quartermain is the man, experienced club racer, who will drive the safety car, and David Ashburn walks away. Nick Tandy's championship hopes, therefore, are over. So as David Ashburn walks away, the safety car joins the road, and it will pick up the race leader. Bang on cue, well done all. Brilliant. So it's got the right car. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's always a worry that the safety car doesn't quite get out at the right time, but that was perfectly well executed there. So well done, safety car driver and the organisers, clerk of the course. So yeah, we're going to see safety car. This car will get moved. It's not going to be too much of a problem for the marshals. It'll be a simple lift and back to the pits. But the fact that it's still stuck there suggests that something has broken to pitch it into the spin and to prevent David Ashburn driving it away. Or it won't start again. Well, yeah. Or it won't start, you know. The first thing you want to do as a driver is get out of the way, especially if you're sat on the exit of like a 70-mile-an-hour corner. Fair point, well made. So yeah. So he was brave to stay in the car and gingerly wave his arm out the air, going, "Help me, I am stuck." I thought that was his King Canute bit. Go back, go away from me. Anyway, David Ashburn is out of the car, out of the race. So the safety car on track, and there is David Ashburn having a little jog back to the car. Now let's catch up with news from the pits. John Gore is with Gary Champion.
Well, John Gore, you're still in civvies. You haven't even had a chance to get the overalls on.
You know, it was always going to be quite a hectic first part of the race, I think, you know, so, and actually it's been pretty clean so far. I think it's been great driving by the guys out there, but Phil's obviously had a little love kiss with someone, and fairly hard one by the looks of it. And that one's done for the day for sure, you know, so, but, you know, the boys will repair it and see if we can get back out later on. I doubt it very much, but they'll give it a go, you know, so. Well,
John, I have to say, if that's a love kiss, I'd hate to see him in a, you know, full say no more. That's
he's a big guy, you know, so it takes quite a bit to stop these cars.
Now, you actually sell these cars to teams, don't you?
Right, yeah, so I run Aston Martin Racing. That's my day job. I'm not a driver, it's a day job. And so, yeah, we're on the factory team in the World Championship, and then obviously run the customer business as well. So it's going pretty well this year. You know, 2 weekends ago we had probably one of our best weekends of the year. We had our customer team in Asia winning the European and the Asian Le Mans Series. We had a 1-2 at the 1,000 kilometre hours of Silverstone, and then we won at Austin in the WEC. So it was pretty good. So pretty good this year, and for sure we're still in the World Championship. We go to Fuji in a couple of weeks' time, and actually Johnny Adam, who's driving with Andrew, is coming to drive Fuji as well. So we're all looking forward to that. But today we're trying to focus on winning the championship with Andrew. We're trying to put all our weight behind him, and this gives me a bit more time to do that as well, I guess.
Thanks very much indeed. Thanks for your time.
So disappointed John Gore, a disappointed David Ashburn, a very disappointed Nick Tandy as the Porsche is taken away. We are behind the safety car here at Donington. We'll be back with more action from Donington Park on Motors after the break. We're racing again at Donington Park. It's the final round of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship. The safety car has just peeled back in after it was deployed to help clear up David Ashburn's latest drama. He is out of the race, and Nick Tandy's championship hopes are gone. Strike one championship contender from the list. Lee Mole ahead of Gregor Fiskin. Gary Eastwood is third. Fourth is Marco Attard. Fifth, Andrew Howard. Sixth, Mark Patterson. Seventh, John Minshaw. And the battle you were just looking at was between John Dillon and Rob Smith. Eighth and ninth, Gregoire de Moustier's McLaren rounds out the top 10. Now, if things were to stay as they are, Marco Attard, who is running fourth, would take the title with Ollie Bryant. Andrew Howard, who is currently running fifth, would lose his championship lead and drop to second. So for Ecurie Cost, the Barwell-run BMW, things are looking good. But Andrew Howard is a quick driver, and he's going to give way to Johnny Adam. And Johnny is far from slow. It's going to be fascinating to see how things stack up over the remaining 99 minutes that we have here at Donington. And Lee Mole, in fairness to him, is driving the race of his life up front at the moment in this BMW that he shares with Joe Osborne, fending off Rockingham winner Gregor Fiskin. Gary Champion's in the pits, David Addison and Charlie Butler-Henderson trackside for this final championship round. And Lee Mole, Charlie, is doing a really good job in the leading BMW.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic job. I'm still keeping an eye on the fastest laps, though, of Patterson as well. Patterson set the fastest lap just before the safety car came out, so I'm going to keep an eye on the fastest laps throughout the race, see who's on a charge, see who's managing their tyres properly. But that Z4 that we were looking at a second ago, God, it looks like a Batmobile. It looks absolutely awesome. That would be an awesome car to have a little go in one day, but it does look fantastic. So yeah, he's pulling away.
The sister car of Steve Tandy got caught up in skirmishes early on, and Steve Tandy is down in 16th place at the moment. The other, he's a championship contender. The other one that's a long way down is Ahmad Al-Hafi's rather bloated Porsche with 75 kilos of extra weight on board. That is 15th overall. In GT4, the class is being led at the moment on track by Nathan Freak. In car 43, he shares with Declan Jones this weekend. Declan is a championship candidate, and Nathan Freak, we know of old, is very, very quick indeed. In the championship, there are 12.5 points separating Rick Parfitt Jr. and Ryan Ratcliffe as the class leaders from Declan Jones, who's chopped and changed co-drivers a bit over the course of the season. But in Nathan Freak, a very quick co-driver indeed. 46 is Adrian Barwick, recovering after an early spin.
Here we are on board with Rick Parfitt Jr. So Lanes coming up into Coppice, short shifting back into third again. It's a blind entry, get the car really, really wide on the exit to sort of spread the whole sort of power of the car across the track, not load your tyres up too much. You can see the wiper starting to flap around now as it's getting in the toe. He's getting in the aerodynamic slipstream of the car in front, ready for the braking zone for this quick left-right chicane leading onto the Melbourne Loop. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Kissing the curbs, absolutely brilliant. And a spin at the Melbourne Loop.
That's Al Harfi. That's another of the championship contenders. Ahmad Al Harfi, Michael Caine's Porsche. Michael is the reigning champion. He'll be looking at these pictures from the pit wall, almost head in hands. And Ahmad Al Harfi doesn't make many mistakes, but he's made one now, and he can't find a gap in the traffic, so he's stuck there until the car can get going again. Right now, he's moving once more, but that's going to drop him a long way down the order. You're on board here with Rick Parfitt Jr., and he's losing places. I think Harry Whale has gone past him in the Aston Martin there.
Yeah, you've got to be careful as well. When a car's spun off and the marshals are waving yellow flags, you cannot overtake under a yellow flag, and I don't know whether there was a move done there under yellows, but we'll have to maybe look into that a bit later on.
Now this is Steve Tandy. This is another championship candidate in the pit lane with a problem. I said he was losing time. It looks as though there's damage to the bodywork from early on in the race. So poor old Steve Tandy, sharing with Dan Brown, is now in the pit lane. I don't think anybody wants to win this, because all those that have got a sniff of the title are suddenly in strife. Bonnet off, wheel off, lots of work being done to the 888 BMW. The sister car still leads the way.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, is there? That's doing a fantastic job up the front.
And it is still Marco Attard looking good to take the championship if things stay as they are. It's a big if, underlined in red ink, because there's a lot that can yet happen in this race. 53 Aston Martin. This is the car that Steve Chaplin is driving. You're on board though now with Rick Parfitt. We're in GT4. Adrian Barwick is ahead, but he's a lap down after his spin, so he's getting in the way to an extent here of Rick Parfitt. It might look like a good battle on track, but actually Parfitt wants him to get out of the way, just leave him to it.
Yeah, and it's quite a good area, this, because this corner is the link between the short circuit and the long circuit. That bit of tarmac is always well used on either side, so really, really good. This is the areas now. Porsche then, number one car that was sort of spun off, is now making its way back through the field again after a fantastic start that it had before hands over to the very likeable Michael Caine a little bit later on.
It's like a handicap race, isn't it? You've got all of these cars playing catch-up, but the GT4 battle is an absolute stormer at the moment. The class is being led by Nathan Freak, but here you've got another car that's carving its way back into contention. It's James May in the Ginetta. The team managers now for David Jones' Mercedes, 888 Steve Tandy's BMW have got to go to race control. It's all happening in the clerk of the course's office as much as on the track. Now, as the cars turn their way through red gates, this great value for money GT4 class, which is the perfect way of coming into British GT, is very much delivering on track. We have now got Nathan Freak leading, but up into second in the class has gone Harry Whale's Aston. That doesn't score points, so in real terms now, second in the class is Rick Parfitt Jr. and Ahmad Al Harfi again runs wide, this time at the old hairpin, and he is able to hang on to that, but as the car continues on its way, that is Steve Tandy. You can see the back has got damage. We did see him lose ground early on, and if you bear in mind that that team manager has been summoned to race control, and so has the team manager of the Joneses Mercedes, I suspect the two things are related.
Yes, possibly. Yeah, the Jones brothers have been quite, well, one of the brothers has been quite busy this race. Yes.
True. Yes.
Yes, not good, not brilliant behaviour, but we'll let the clerk of the course decide that. We've got a new fastest lap as well. New fastest lap. So as the drivers are getting more consistent, more confident with their cars, the tyres are getting really up to temperature now. They really are sort of singing on song and getting a really good pace now. So we're down to 1 minute 31.5 around this 2.5 mile Donington circuit. It's a pretty good lap time. And
that has been done by Gregoire de Musquier as well, who is perhaps not always the first choice for who do you think has done the best lap of the race, but Gregoire, ex-single-seater hot shoe, is now going very well in GT McLarens. He knows the cars very well from his time with ART Grand Prix last year. Meantime, Marco Attard is still pushing on, so is Andrew Howard. Attard is fourth, Howard is fifth. You're riding with him as the cars make their way now down towards the S's once again. We are working in here at Donington Park and coming down towards the S's. The fight is building for fourth. Down to the Melbourne hairpin they come then. So it is Marco Attard now under attack. Andrew Howard is getting into his stride, isn't he now? He knows that there's a championship at stake here. It doesn't affect his co-driver too much, but Andrew would dearly love to win. He's going to have a go on the inside. Is he coming up towards Roberts? No, because Marco Attard moves across and takes the line.
Also, what I would say is, talking to Andrew earlier, he cannot see that corner. Roberts' corner, which has been renamed onto the pit straight now, he can't actually physically see that corner. It's completely blind for him. So it's you know, 50-50 where he was going to get the apex or even make a move on that corner. So very, very tricky from a driver's point of view, where they sit in the car with all the bodywork of the roll cages around them.
Now 32, Gregor Fiskin spun at Roberts. He has therefore thrown himself down into 8th place, and that therefore means that Attard and Howard, who were fighting for 4th, is now 3rd, coming out of the old hairpin. So Marco Attard gaining another place and therefore more points. Andrew Howard is going with him. So quick recap, the order is Lee Mole ahead now of Gary Eastwood, 3rd is Attard, 4th is Howard, 5th is Mark Patterson, 6th is John Minshaw. Gregoire de Moustier, quickest man on the circuit, is 7th. Down to 8th after his spin is Fiskin, 9th is John Dillon, 10th is Rob Smith. Time for a deep breath. Lower down, Ahmed Al-Hafi running in 20th. He has also got to play catch up. Of course, quite a few of the pro drivers want a safety car in their stint, don't they, to bring them back into the game.
Yeah, from a professional driver's point of view, stood on the pit lane, you know, you're really, really anxious, you're biting your nails, you're thinking, come on, just keep it on the black stuff, make sure that you get it to me in relatively good stead, that you haven't done too many, you know, flat spots to the tyres or damaged it in any way. And yeah, you really are sort of praying for a safety car to bring everyone back together again, so you can have, in theory, a fresh race with your fellow colleagues that you work with at various race schools or you've raced with over the years. But great battle here, especially with the 007 name as well. He's very, very, with a number, he's very Bond-esque, very British, very Aston Martin-esque. He really is very traditional as well, speaking to him in his Arctic lorry earlier on. So fantastic. He is on a charge. Is he going to make the move on the way into Redgate? They're braking, they're going down to 2nd gear for this corner, believe it or not. 2nd gear to get the power on nice and early, which he hasn't done there. The BMW in front has just pulled away, and then this is a flat out run. Maybe a slight confidence lift there where they are, where the car changes direction, the tarmac then reappears, and it is an unbelievably beautiful, brave bit of track.
Neither of these cars has any extra time in the pit, so this is a battle that's going to go on uninterrupted, effectively. That spin for Gregor Fiskin, putting him down to what is now 9th place, does rather tee up nicely Richard Westbrook's stint, doesn't it? We know that Richard's always a star, and now he's got a bit more work to do. That's going to be well worth watching when we get to the second part of this race. We've still got an hour and a half to go. You're riding back on board with Andrew Howard. If he's going to get past that BMW, it's probably going to be on this next section, the Grand Prix loop, because that is where the Z4 is weak. It likes flowing corners, it likes momentum, it does not like the stop-start bit, and that is exactly what it's about to encounter.
That Aston looks very, very quick through the Fogarty chicane there. Looks really, really unbelievable. Is he going to make the move down on the way into the Melbourne loop? No, he's just showing his nose in. No, he didn't quite make it, but getting very, very close though.
Now, as far as the championship is concerned, 4 points between Attard and Andrew Howard at the moment, and this is why Andrew Howard is getting ever more towy to find a way through. He's tried one side, he's tried the other. Can he go round the outside? No. Maybe had that been the last lap, he'd have kept his foot in, but he switches sides, tries to get up the inside, coming over the line. He can't get through there. He's going to be on the outside line, down towards Redgate corner. But is Andrew Howard going to go round the outside? Yes, he is. He's got it nailed even before the corner. Fabulous bit of driving. Andrew Howard now goes ahead, and this is on board with Marco Attard, who has lost a place. Let's see what that does to the championship. It's going to put the advantage back Andrew Howard's way, isn't it? He came in as the championship leader, so now Andrew Howard has got his hands back on the championship trophy. Down they come through the old hairpin. In 5th place, you have got Mark Patterson in the Audi. So as the cars now work their way up towards Schwantz Curve, Andrew Howard, having got ahead of Marco Attard, is doing his level best to get away. Can he do crossed up?
The Aston, since it's overtaken Attard in the Z4, I tell you what, the back end came out on the exit of the old hairpin and at McLean's. Is it going to do the same at Coppice? So now he's done the move, he's now going to make it stick and stay ahead and keep it out of the scenery, because this team really do want this championship win so much. It is unbelievable. So a real big battle there. Just Mr. Howard, just keep it settled, watch that back end, don't work your tyres too much, and it really is quick through that chicane. Absolutely fantastic shot we're getting there of those cars bouncing over the curbs.
But he can't pull away, and that now means that he's stacked up Marco Attard, who's got Mark Patterson right up behind him. Mark Patterson is, again, another driver who could take the title, and Attard runs a little bit wide again. It doesn't like the stop-start part of the circuit, so the BMW is vulnerable. The Audi pounces. Another place gain. Mark Patterson now working his way into contention, but he goes wide. Marco Attard tries to come back at him on the inside, coming through Roberts. He does so, but the Audi has the drive out of the corner.
Yeah, drive out of the corner, definitely more traction, and if he was to sort of go level head down into Redgate corner, what we're seeing now, he would have still been on the inside, so the move still would have stuck. Loads of action going on there. We're now starting to catch up some slower cars now as well, so this is also going to add into the mix as well as the championship. Trying to stay out of the fast cars way is tricky from the GT4 guys having their own little battle, aren't they?
Absolutely, and now look in the background, Gregoire de Moustier is starting to become a factor as well. So as the race leaders work their way on lap number 20. Ahmad Al-Harthi, by the way, in his recovery drive is now being warned about not respecting the track limits. That's something that you don't get too much of at Donington, but it's starting to happen in the race now. The drivers are doing some corner cutting, and we've lost a Ginetta by the look of it. That is up at Coppice. That's Rob Smith. No. It could be, couldn't it? So it is at Coppice. It's on the edge of the road. That could be another safety car period. Let's check in a moment or two. So as the leaders work their way down to the S's, let's have a look. That, I suspect, is the Rob Smith Ginetta that's gone missing, but we'll double check come the end of the lap. It's up at Coppice. The Ginetta is off the road and out of the race, as now Andrew Howard is being monstered by Mark Patterson. Outside line. That Audi has really come alive in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, some of the teams have also set up their car to really come on song throughout the race when the tyres are starting to get up to temperature, so they may have just had that set up on there, or some of the other drivers are struggling, but this Audi really is on a mission. The mid speed they've got and mid grip they've got mid corner is just unreal on some of the other cars.
Now let's have another look at how the championship is. It's gone back the way of Andrew Howard, but Johnny Adam would now move up into second. Even though he can't win, he could be the runner-up. That would be probably the next best, wouldn't it? Ahead by 2 points of Marco Attard and Ollie Bryant. But also, as I've been saying, Mark Patterson is getting into the mix with Matt Bell now. Each place gained by Mark Patterson helps them in the championship. They've still got a lot of work to do, but that Audi, Mark Patterson and Matt Bell's car, is becoming ever more a factor within the championship situation. And we have still got an hour and 26 minutes to go, so a lot can yet shake out of this. Even though Patterson has been making progress, he's now under attack because right on his tail is Gregoire de Moustier,
who set up the fastest lap a little bit earlier on. So you said it was going to be a good race, David, but I tell you what, and wouldn't it be unbelievable for Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam? Andrew Howard obviously runs a
look at this for traffic.
This is again catching the slower cars, championship at stake here, lights are flashing. So into the chicane they come. So remember, these guys have got their own championship as well, and they don't want to get out of the way for the faster cars, so they're concentrating on who they're trying to beat, as well as then having to look in their mirrors at this stage of the race for the faster cars, and you can see how much faster they are in how quickly they do approach the GT4 cars. Brilliant stuff.
So the GT4 drivers having their own battle, as you say, and trying to get out of the way and also do the championship computations within GT4. Andrew Howard arrives at Roberts now. Just up ahead there is the GT4 Ginetta of James May, which comes out of Roberts up over the timing line. James May, Alex Osborne, outsiders in the GT4 contest. They arrive here as fifth. Now Patterson goes for the inside line down towards Redgate. Is there going to be another place to be gained here? It's close, but the Aston Martin just stays ahead through the corner.
Yeah, it just stays ahead, and I tell you, it's very, very easy. If the Aston then had just shut the door a little bit more on the Audi, there might have been a little bit of contact there. So very, very sensible driving from both of them, but he's just showing up the inside just to show him that he's there and he's a little bit quicker than him. But Howard doing a fantastic job at the front there, and as we've just seen by the championship standings, you know, to Johnny Adam to come second would be phenomenal.
Black flag, car 22. That is the Jones Mercedes, and the team manager has been asked to go to race control, but I suspect this is for early contact. There's no mucking about when it's a black flag, is it? That means you are coming in to talk to the clerk of the course. It's not a warning, or it's not, will the driver go to see the clerk of the course at the end of your stint? So David Jones is being brought into the pit lane, and I suspect the grumpiness level is about to go through the roof.
But what's unbelievable is that car really doesn't look like it's got any damage on it whatsoever. Just a little scuff on the front left, and that's it. But it seems like it's caused quite a lot of damage downstairs in the pit lane.
Second and third in GT4 on track. mixing it now with third, fourth, fifth overall. So it's getting very leery indeed out on track. Matt Bell is watching all of this, seeing how his Audi is getting on. Gregoire de Moustier tries to go right round the outside there, diving up towards Roberts. That's to get himself up past Harry Whale. He needs to get through the traffic as quickly as possible. De Moustier now trying to stay on the back of the Audi over the timing line. Once more down towards Redgate. Andrew Howard has had a little bit of breathing space out of all of this. Now this is Rick Parfitt's car, which is third on track in GT4, but it's actually second because Harry Whale's Aston, the white car just ahead, is not able to score points, not registered for the championship. So in real terms, points-wise for the championship, Rick Parfitt is second, and that's very good news for him. Yeah,
fantastic news, and he still can't believe that he's actually racing in GTs. He said he's only just started racing, and look what he's doing. He's doing a fantastic job. When he went through Redgate a second ago, you saw him have a little twitch of the wheel, and there was a car on the inside of him, so it was natural that there was a car just about to overtake him, because the leaders are now starting to overtake them.
Andrew Howard, though, is now in third place. It has been a fascinating race so far. There is plenty more to come here at Donington. An hour and 23 minutes of this championship finale to go. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Donington Park. This is the final round of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship. The race being led by Lee Mole from Gary Eastwood. But there is a great battle. You're looking at it now for third, fourth and fifth. Andrew Howard, championship leader, is ahead of Mark Patterson. And Gregoire de Moustier runs there, number 9 McLaren, in fifth place. And he's about to have a go for fourth once more as he tries the outside at Coppice to find a way past Mark Patterson. Gregoire de Moustier, who, as we've seen in previous races, gets faster and faster as his stint wears on, is now having a really good go to move himself up past the Audi. And now Charlie Butler-Henderson, he's going to make a move, I think, coming down towards the S's.
Well, the Audi's been very shrewd there and made it very difficult for the McLaren to get by. But the McLaren literally is pushing this car around. This is the most expensive traffic jam between two cars coming into the Donington Park Melbourne Loop. The McLaren isn't going to go around the outside. No, he's going to do the cutback. So he's going to get on the power nice and early, getting it done. He's still on the outside for the next corner, but that Audi has got so much traction on the exit. This battle is absolutely immense, and he's going to do the move on the inside. Roberts, last corner onto the pit straight, very late on the brakes there. Brilliant driving, and managed to outdo the Audi then on the exit. But try and make your car as wide as possible. He's still giving him a little bit of a gap, which is unusual. No, there you go. Move is stuck, and it'd be nice to see over the next few laps how that battle continues, or whether the McLaren pulls away.
And where he goes to next. Well, it'll be onto the tail of the Aston of Andrew Howard. That McLaren, run by Von Ryan Racing, Davy Ryan's team, the former McLaren F1 team manager. Down he comes towards the old hairpin. Now, this car is out of the race. The Pressy Spark Mercedes has been given a black flag. The reason being it had a 1-minute stop contact with number 42 and with number 888. However, it passed the stop-and-go penalty board 4 times, at which point the race director lost his rag and issued the black flag, and there it sits all forlorn. And David Jones, I suspect, is not going to embrace the race director Bernard Cottrell with a group hug. I suspect he's a bit cross, but largely you could say that it was down to him because he didn't see the board. It wasn't on the timing screen though, so the team had no way of telling the driver. However, the board was out at the start line, it was ignored, and so the Mercedes is out of the race. Gregoire de Moustier here in the McLaren, carrying 75 kilos of extra weight, because he and Duncan Tappy, given that in effect they are 2 pro drivers, are considered an exotic partnership, and for that you carry an extra 75 kilos. But the McLaren works well, it seems, with that weight, and he's getting faster and faster. Around him are lots of quick amateurs, including here Marco Attard, who was well paced early on. He's fallen back into 6th place now, suggesting maybe his tyres are going off, because he's certainly lost quite a bit of speed over the last few laps.
Yeah, the drivers will also change their tyres on the pit stop as we go back on board to the GT4 battle, which we can see going through the Fogarty chicane there. Parfitt Jr. looking very relaxed in the driver's seat there, 6-speed sequential box. Seeing it now breaking down into the Melbourne Loop, taking a nice wide line. There's a bit of debris hanging off the back of that car. Doesn't look too drastic, just looks like he's collected a bit of tank tape or a bit of insulation tape or something underneath the floor. Looks like it might be flapping, so we'll keep an eye on that throughout the race.
This, remember, is the GT4 Championship leader, so they could ill afford dramas. Really, they just need to stay out of trouble. The opposition is Declan Jones. Well, he has got to win the class, and Rick Parfitt, Ryan Ratcliffe be 3rd or lower. And bearing in mind that there's another car in this that can't score points, they should be good for the title. As now de Moustier makes a move against Andrew Howard, who thinks, I can let you go, you're not really in my championship battle. So through you go. Gregoire de Moustier powers his way by. He's up into 3rd place now. This car that came second at Brands Hatch, behind the Aston Martin in fact, and now Gregoire de Moustier is ahead, but here comes Patterson up the inside down to the S's, as though Andrew Howard, having lost one place, kind of got distracted.
Yeah, definitely. That McLaren was on a right mission and could afford to take the proper racing line, while Howard was having to be slightly defensive. Then, as the McLarens passed the Aston Martin, the Audi's then been given a chance to catch up, and then another very, very easy overtake. Howard seems to have really dropped off the pace in the last 2 or 3 laps, so don't know whether he's got a problem or not, or whether he's just literally playing it safe and just taking it steady. But these are big cars, they weigh quite a bit, and also you've got the tyres that also are a massive factor. So looking forward to the pit stop windows, which will be getting that ever bit closer, so looking forward to that. So you've got the Z4 then of car number 79, the Akira Kos car run by Barwell Motorsport.
Bear in mind that although Lee Mole's BMW leads the way, the second place car, Gary Eastwood, which will give way to Rob Bath, gets an extra 15 seconds. So that lead battle is going to extend on the pit stops. Now let's go back to GT4 for a moment, because what you're looking at here is the Steve Chaplin Aston Martin, and behind is Zoe Wenham's Ginetta. Now Zoe is an outside candidate for GT4 Championship honours, whereas the Aston Martin isn't. And that has not scored well enough to be part of the championship fight. At the moment, it's Ratcliffe and Parfitt who are set to win, but only by 2 points from Declan Jones. Declan Jones is at the moment relying on Nathan Freak to do the hard work, and Nathan Freak is responding and leading the class. James May and Alex Osborne would be next, and then Matt Smith and Dan Eagling behind them. Rick Parfitt and Ryan Ratcliffe, just to remind you, are running third on the road in class, but the car ahead doesn't score points. Therefore, they move up and take second in class points, so they can just sit there, keep out of trouble, go to the end of the race. That will do them. There's a squeal of tyres down at the old hairpin, and that is the May Osborne Ginetta. James May at the wheel of it, that has gone off backwards into the gravel bed, and that, I suspect, is not going to get out of there very easily.
Because it's a rear-wheel drive car, if he spins up the rear wheels, it's going to dig in the ground. But as it's a GT race, the marshals will hopefully oblige and push that car back on. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if we're going to see another safety car, unless they can get that car moved as quickly as possible. No, that's it. So we wait and see. Marshall.
The problem is that there's a little bit of clear track now, but
yes,
largely with such a big grid, it's very, very hard to actually have the safety to work, because there are always cars coming through. So you sort of need the safety car to neutralise things, to let the marshals work in safety. They have to walk away from the car. So there's the snatch vehicle on its way. The race director will try to keep the race going if he can. Now, Gregoire de Moustier third has got Mark Patterson chasing on behind him. De Moustier last time through didn't lap as quickly as the leaders because he was mired in traffic. The lead gap is coming down as well. Gary Eastwood is catching Lee Mole. It's 1.9 seconds now between the leaders, but you've got the extra pit stop time for Gary Eastwood when we get to the pit stops. It is, as ever, a fascinating race this. It's going to get more fascinating into the second stint. An hour and 13 minutes remain. Gregoire de Moustier and Duncan Tappy and that McLaren, they could be on for a win here, you know.
Yeah, they really could do. That car really seems to be really just gripping. Looks good, looks very, very controlled through all of the corners. And we're on board now, coming into the Melbourne Loop, which is downhill, and then we pick the car back up on the exit then.
This is the run up towards Roberts. The race leaders have just started lap 30. Out of Roberts comes Marco Attard as he comes past the pits. Let me just finish off the David Jones story. Car 22 Mercedes, it's a long line this, has been excluded from the race. 4 penalty points on the driver's licence, a loss of 8 championship points, and fined £1,000 for contact with cars 888 and 42 on 2 separate occasions.
Oh dear, that is a long sentence, and also, excuse the pun, not a very nice sentence either.
No, quite.
Cheaper than Formula 1 though, £1,000, but it's still £1,000. You know, it's a lot of.
Tell it's the end of the season, can't you? Now look at this. Ahmad Al-Harthi, number 1 Porsche, up alongside number 2 Aston Martin Phil Dryborough, Phil Burton, I should say, up towards Roberts. Porsche goes ahead. Phil Burton fights back on the inside, but Ahmad Al-Harthi for Motorbase, playing catch-up after his spin early on, goes up into 15th place. That at the long way out of the hunt, but I think when you put Michael Caine in the car for the second stint, it should gain a lot of places back. Gregor Fiskin, after his spin, incidentally, is still in 9th, struggling to make much more progress. Yellow flag there because of the Ginetta being retrieved at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, that was a real shame seeing that Porsche. We've got a change here as well with the Audis overtaking the McLaren, and the McLaren's going to fight back, and we've got back markers as well. Remember, these guys are still fighting the GT4 battle in the Ginettas, the slightly lesser powered cars, but still very competitive. These guys, are they going to make contact? The McLaren is very, very good on the brakes on the way into the last corner, so we'll wait and see for that now. Yes, what did I say? Very late on the brakes, but a very boisterous move there, and the Audi then does the cutback, gets it back on the inside.
But this is an AM versus a pro. Mark Patterson, he's driving the race of his life. Fantastic stuff. And Gregoire de Moustier has just been taught a lesson or two, hasn't he, by a very quick AM in the person of Mark Patterson in the United Auto Sports Audi. Great stuff. Mark Patterson is back up into 3rd place. And Gregoire de Moustier, a lap ago I said could be on for a win here, has now got to dig a bit deeper. Yeah,
de Moustier definitely flashing his lights there, wasn't happy with the Audi at all, even though it was blatantly his fault. He was the one that went for the late lunge, but I did say he was very late on the brakes there, and he proved me right. He did make the move. But it didn't stick though, unfortunately.
No, it stuck for about a second. Now there is the race leading car. Remember him, Lee Mole, who I said early on was driving the race of his life. He's built up the lead a little bit over Gary Eastwood, helped by traffic, but it's a 1.4 second margin at the start of this 31st lap. Gary Eastwood to hand over to Rob Bath, but it will be a longer pit stop because of the success time, whereas Lee Mole to Joe Osborne. Now this is track speeds into knee-side fight. Gregor Fiskin ahead of John Minshaw, who gets forced out wide, and up the middle of them tries to go Rob Smith in the Ginetta. So he's got past Minshaw, who was rather elbowed out wide there. Gregor Fiskin now has to go defensive. Down they come, and we are 15 seconds and counting away from the end of 50 minutes, at which point you can come into the pit lane. So expect some of these cars to pit this time. Lee Mole's got to do another lap, and so has Gary Eastwood. They've missed the opportunity to pit, fuel permitting, by about but we have now had the first 50 minutes of the race, and that therefore means that you can, if you can do the computations well on fuel, now come in, get rid of your slower driver. And Mark Patterson has come in, and Gregoire de Moustier has come in. I wouldn't exactly call them slow, but they're going to have an even quicker co-driver.
Yeah, and being the co-driver waiting, so looking down at some of the pit stops that are happening down there, the fuel's going into the cars as quickly as possible. All the tyres will be changed, and as we can see...
Attard to Bryant, just to interrupt you, Charlie. Yep. Significant for the championship. And remember, these stops are 110 seconds, pit in to pit out, plus any success time you gain.
Driver can't be in the car while the car's being fueled, as we can see that the drivers are eagerly waiting there. All of the seat belts on the cars have got elastic bands on them that flick them out of the way, so it's easy for the driver to get in rather than ruffling around under your bum for the belts.
Something else to monitor though here, of course, is if the pit lane gets really crowded, you can't just go blasting out because you may not have the room, you might get boxed in.
So you might have to be pushed or manoeuvred by your mechanics to have a clear run out of the pits there. And then we've got the two leaders here, leader first and second place, coming into the Melbourne Loop, and the move is being done as well, very, very patiently done, and just before the pit stops as well, so this could all change things again.
Gary Eastwood is the new race leader ahead of Lee Mole, knowing that they're coming to the pit stop window, and Lee Mole will be in this time. I can see the team ready for him. He didn't really see any need to fight it. He's led virtually the whole stint. He pits, but Gary Eastwood thinking, I like leading this race, thank you very much, I'll carry on. So in comes Lee Mole, and now of course the order gets ever more jumbled with these pit stops. So we'll give you the order as they come over the line.
It's one car going down the straight.
Exactly, yes.
So lonely on that Ferrari.
110 seconds is effectively the best part of a lap.
As we were saying, pit lane's very, very busy, pushing cars, you know, getting it into the right spot there.
Adam Hardy with the stopwatch, the chief engineer on the car for Ollie Bryant as it now is, having taken over from Marco Attard. Fuel goes into what's now Joe Osborne's BMW, and the Audi gets away. Go, 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 Ollie Bryant. So the BMW blasts down the pit lane, and you've still got to time this right so you don't cross that timing beam until the end of 110 seconds. If you are short, you get a stop-go penalty to make up the difference, and it's all very tightly policed. So it's a drive-through penalty for quite a lot of cars all of a sudden. Phil Burton is one of them. Number 8, Lee Mole, the previous race leader, is another. 13, John Dillon. 33, which is John Minshaw. and car number 80, Mark Poole, all for overtaking under a yellow flag. The most significant of those is car 8, which was leading. Lee Mole has just given way to Joe Osborne, but that will have a drive-through penalty, so that's another car that suddenly slithers back down the race order.
Yeah, Joe won't be happy about that. It's like a case of, thanks mate, you just left me having to do a drive-through penalty. Aston Martin now approaching slower cars that are having their own little battle. The marshals will be waving their blue flags, and because of that, cars that are then going off, losing concentration. So if you are the slower driver, you've got to look out for the marshals post waving yellow flags. You're in your own battle. You don't want to move over for the faster cars, because then you'll sacrifice track time for the cars that you're racing with, and then you could easily go off or cause accidents as well. So loads happening throughout this race. It's a 2-hour race. Doesn't sound very exciting, but there's so much going on within that GT race.
Gary Eastwood is into the pit lane. This is Andrew Howard now serving his mandatory stop. Now Gary Eastwood, remember, has got to sit there for an extra 15 seconds. The Aston Martin has no extra pit stop time, so even if it can't jump ahead of the Ferrari, it will narrow the gap on the pit stops. Now who does that put into the lead of the race? John Dillon staying out there in the AF Corsa Ferrari. So as he comes through now, John Dillon takes over the lead in the Ferrari he shares with Aaron Scott. That's got to drive through anyway, so you can kind of rule it out at Pro 10. Gregor Fiskin will be next. Has he pitted yet? No, he hasn't, but John Minshaw has now to give way to Phil Keane. So Andrew Howard vacates the Aston Martin. Johnny Adam will be in it any moment. He's ready to go. Things are looking pretty good for them at the moment.
And then also to add into the mix, you've got obviously a pit lane speed limit. These cars haven't got a pit lane speed limiter on it, but if the electrics aren't working on that bit of the mapping at the time, they could get done for being speeding in the pit lane. Great onboard footage here as we climb up into McLean's. This corner is flat out. Remember, some of these drivers have just been replaced, so they're just getting a feel for the cars at the moment, so they're just getting warmed up. And remember, they've changed tyres, so they're just getting them up to temperature. These are the pro drivers that we're now pretty much swapping into as the pit lane window opens. So lots going on here. It's brilliant stuff. Loving it.
Rob Bath ahead of Ollie Bryant. This is a great little battle, and Ollie Bryant dives up the inside. Place gained at the S's. Now Matt Bell versus Duncan Tappy here. Matt Bell is absolutely flying in the Audi. Duncan Tappy is not exactly slow, but they have switched around on this lap. And Ollie Bryant getting himself up past Rob Bath. Now there's 007. Johnny Adam is away in the Aston Martin. He makes his way down the pit lane now, so we still will need a lap, I think, to put the race order into play. But Johnny Adam's going to fall down the order, isn't he? He's back behind the Audi, he's back behind the McLaren, but he's ahead of Ollie Bryant. So Johnny Adam is ahead of number 79. So very, very important, a very good pit stop that. It means that the Aston Martin is ahead of its nearest championship rival. Andrew Howard is still looking good here to take the title. Riding on board with Johnny Adam as he works his way now out of the old hairpin. Now there is Matt Bell. Remember that he could still win the championship. He's just done the fastest lap of the race on, I think, his first flying lap. Matt Bell absolutely storming.
Yeah, 1 minute 30.9 seconds. Absolutely unbelievable. Remember that they've changed the tyres, as I've just mentioned. Here we are, back on board, going through Coppice, keeping it smooth on the power, getting the power down as early as you can. He's got paddles on the steering wheel, these, so they don't have to take the hand off the wheel like we saw in the Ginettas with the Rick Parfitt Jr. car that we saw on board earlier.
Now this effectively is the battle to be the champion. It's Johnny Adam versus Ollie Bryant. It is the Aston Martin ahead of the BMW. If they stay this way, it goes Andrew Howard's way. But let's see how good Ollie Bryant is going to be at getting a place back. I think Johnny Adam has proved that he is a very, very quick GT racer. He's already got himself then a win at Brands Hatch in a 2-hour race. Ollie Bryant is perhaps not quite as forceful a racer as Johnny Adam is, but let's see how he pans out here as they come out of Roberts. Remember, Ollie made his mark on the championship outcome last year for the wrong reason. He was a candidate, but then had his contact with Matt Griffin, got a penalty for it that took them out of the game, and it took Matt Griffin out of the game. He'd rather like to finally put that to bed once and for all by winning the championship this year, but he's got to get past the Aston Martin. It is absolutely crucial now. There's no looking after tyres, there's no I'm going for points. He's got to be ahead, no argument.
Yeah, this is going to be a great battle between the Aston and the BMW that we just picked up on a little bit later. So you've got traffic here. So from a marshal's point of view, very, very key that you get told when there's slower cars in front of you. You've got Adam there flashing his lights saying, come on, I'm a faster car. And then you've got the BMW that's now catching up. So there's so many different battles going through the pack. It's very, very easy to get wrapped up in your own little race and not actually use your mirrors or get in the way of the faster cars then. So, and being the faster cars, you've then got to overtake sensibly, smoothly and cleanly to not ruin the whole race just by being hot-headed and have damage with the slower cars that are having their battle throughout the field. So it's important that they keep an eye on the marshals, don't sacrifice their track time and don't get tangled up with anyone. So these drivers really are being pushed to the limit in the last 62 minutes of this GT race.
And the race is going to get better and better because now there are more and more cars having made pit stops. There are more and more quick drivers getting on board as up towards Roberts once again comes Johnny Adam. Ollie Bryant is close, but let's just look at the lap times this time through and see whether the gap is coming down. Got Gregoire de Mustier, now Duncan Tappy in the McLaren going through, so Tappy is ahead of both of these.
So important for Adam as well. Adam's the first car, so he's the one that's really going to sort of push through the gaps to make the overtaking manoeuvre stick. Then you've got the second car, Bell, who's just going to be cleaning up the pieces and the gaps behind. So Adam, that's why he's frantically flashing his lights in that 007 Aston Martin, because he's the one that's desperate to try and pull away from Bell, who's chasing him hard behind, but knows that Adam's doing all the hard work by opening the gaps for him.
Now, in real terms, the race is still being led 8, so Joe Osborne is ahead now of Rob Bath. Third in real terms is Matt Bell, fourth is Tappy, and then fifth and sixth Johnny Adam and Ollie Bryant. But we know that Joe Osborne has got to serve a drive-through, so that is going to put this car, Rob Bath, into the pound seats for a win. But look who is right up behind Rob Bath now. It is the very formidable Matt Bell. Matt having already set the fastest lap of the race. These are the three leaders effectively as one, but the black BMW, the Batmobile almost, is going to have to serve this drive-through. That takes Joe Osborne out of the game, and so it's Bath versus Bell for top honours as they come down towards the Melbourne hairpin. And remember, of course, that this Audi is still in with a chance of winning the championship, so Matt Bell needs to get up through the traffic as quick as he can.
And so much can happen, you know. It's not just as the driver's standings now, you know, they could have mechanical failures, they could have some spins, we could have another safety car. There's so much here at stake that could still happen. This is pretty much going to go down to the last lap, I'd like to think, anyway. So really great racing here from Donington Park Grand Prix Circuit. There's another pit stop there for car number 43, the Ginetta.
That's Nathan Freak, isn't it, who was leading the class now to give way to the Liverpudlian, Declan Jones. That's Phil Burton to give way to Adam Wilcox. Good to have them back in the championship, former Ferrari stalwarts. And there once more is a look at how the GT4 leading pit stop is going. Meantime, down at the old hairpin, 54, which is still Harry Whale, getting in the way a little bit of Matt Bell. Matt's gone through now, and that's Adam Wilcox getting on board Phil Burton's Aston Martin. So the pit lane is still very, very busy indeed. And the Aston Martin has had a small blaze extinguished. You can see the extinguishant on the side of it, but I think the car's going to be good to go back into the race, come what may. We are into the second hour of what has been an all-action race. So we have got there 25 Matt Bell turning his way out of the Melbourne hairpin. Ahead is 18 Ferrari Rob Bath. Ahead of both of them is number 8 Joe Osborne, who has not, yes he has now, hasn't he, taken his drive-through penalty. So that car has managed to hang on to the race lead, even though it's now had 2 pit stops, goes through. So the BMW has hung on to the leaders. Now Bell goes for the inside against Rob Bath, picks up second place, but he's going to go wide, and Rob Bath comes back at him up on the inside line. They're absolutely level as they go through Hollywood. The Audi is just ahead. How close can it be? There's a bit of contact, and Matt Bell comes off worse.
Yeah, Rob Bath wasn't having that. Did the cut back on the exit of Redgate, side by side, touch, doing about 140, 150 miles an hour through the blind left-hander of Craner Curve. Unbelievable stuff, and see the Audi there licking its wounds a bit, going, what just happened? So they got bathed, as it were. So yes. Rob definitely took control there.
And another new fastest lap of the race has been done. Number 13 Aaron Scott. There is car 1 Ahmad Al Hafi from Oman, gives way to East Anglian car dealer. Yes, Michael Caine. That well-known exotic partnership of up and a half in Michael Caine.
We've got James May, Captain Slow out there. Nothing to do with Top Gear. We've got Michael Caine, nothing to do with the filming. So it's like a celebrity stars, isn't it?
Yes.
But not.
Tonight, Matthew, I will be. Yes. So Michael Caine rejoins, or the car rejoins the race. And talk us through this bit of contact, Charlie.
OK, so Audi's gone for the move at Redgate. We're now, Bath really sort of trying to say, this is my bit of space there. It makes contact, and the Audi just sees better of it. Sees absolutely better of it and thinks, right, no, Bath's definitely got that place. So bit of contact, not really where you want contact, but you definitely have to stamp your authority, particularly just there if a move's going to be done. And you can see there, Bath pulls the gap ahead of that move. So great bit of dicing from those two.
So Joe Osborne has managed to hang on to the lead despite having to serve that drive-through. So that, I think, played into his hands because of the extra pit stop time for Rob Bath. You've got Matt Bell behind. Now Duncan Tappy up into 4th place. 5th now is this car, Johnny Adden, and then Ollie Bryant is 6th. He has still got to attack, hasn't he? Ollie Bryant can't just sit there anymore.
No, definitely not. No, he's sat there for long enough while Adam's been sort of trying to nudge through the back markers and the slower cars.
But now Johnny Adams got himself in a battle for position, and he is right on the tail of the McLaren while he's bottled up behind him, so the BMW should close. Now, this is McLean's. Talk us round Donington.
So, round Donington, up into 4th gear, then braking down into 3rd gear, turning in. It's a blind corner, Muller in the curb on the inside, but not so much that it upsets the balance of the car. Running wide, using a little bit of aerodynamic flow from the Aston in front of you to sort of get closer to that McLaren in front of us, and then braking. Back onto the racing line, so we are now in the controlling position that we can get a good run out of the corner, but that McLaren is really well stuck on the exit of that. Really good traction on the exit there. Then we drop down into a blind corner, which then just appears, and it really is very easy to outbrake yourself there. Turning in, tight to the curve, back on the power again. These cars have got a form of traction control, but they're trying to get the car set up as best as possible without using the traction control. Braking into Roberts. Slightly off camber corner, but really important to get a good run out of this corner as we pass the pits, look at our pit boards, talk to our team, we can get better signal reception over the radio, we need to give them a message, and then again braking. We're just playing a little bit of cat and mouse here. We're not sort of being too brave, we're just sort of seeing where the strengths are and the weaknesses are of the car in front. Coming out now, this is the bravest corners pretty much in the UK. Craner curve, flat out, it's a slight confident lift, the circuit reappears, back on the power again, and as the car dips down in the suspension, as the car comes down into the hill, it's really easy to lose the control of the car there. Kissing the curb on the inside as we climb up the hill. This is a flat out left kink, but you must brake in a straight line in the middle of the road, otherwise the back of the car comes round and you're in the scenery on the left through McLean's. And this is where we picked it up from. Back into Coppice again as we see the external shot there, so we can see really good footage there. The drivers, they're not only getting hot, these are the pro drivers, they've obviously been training hard. They don't have a drinks bottle, it's too much to faff around with for 2-hour racing, but at the same time these cars do get extremely hot inside. Brakes, exhaust, engine, you know, your own body is just, the heat is just immense in these cars.
Remember as well, that McLaren is lugging around an extra 75 kilos. Change there. That's for 2nd place. Matt Bell this time goes ahead of Rob Bath. This time makes it stick as well. So the United Autosports Audi moves itself ahead of the Ferrari. It is still Joe Osborne leading the way. These are the race positions then. It is BMW ahead now of Audi. So because of that switch around, it is Matt Bell 2nd, it is Rob Bath 3rd as they come over the timing line. The lead gap is 1.7 seconds, but I think Matt Bell is going to catch Joe Osborne here. The gap's going to come down between them. Time for ice cream, of course, at Beach Dean. There's always time for ice cream, isn't there? Especially when you're odds on to win a championship. And that now is looking very likely for Andrew Howard, who is 1.2 seconds ahead of Ollie Bryant.
And he's absolutely petrified of commentators' curse, so if he was up here now with us, he'd definitely be giving you a slap or something. He's very paranoid about commentators mentioning anything too early. But, you know, they look very relaxed in that garage, don't they? Exactly. Very relaxed. Yes. So far, so good.
The ice cream of champions, clearly. It's the afternoon snack of champions. Another car to keep an eye to lower down is Richard Westbrook, who is in 9th place and absolutely charging. But Rob Bath, meantime, has dropped to 3rd, and there is the leading car, Joe Osborne, in the 888 Optimum BMW that had such a good job done in it by Lee Mole early on. Well, even though that car has had a drive-through, it is still leading. They got the drive-through out of the way during the pit stop, so they didn't lose too much time. So you've got Joe Osborne leading. There he is. Matt Bell is 2nd, and that gap is coming down. This great battle will continue at Donington. after the break. Just over 50 minutes remain at Donington in the final round of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship. The championship is being led by Andrew Howard. His car, with Johnny Adam at the wheel, is in the middle of this trio, attacking Duncan Tappy's McLaren. And you're looking at points at the moment. In GT4, Ryan Ratcliffe, Rick Parfitt are set to win. In GT3, Andrew Howard is set to win. And there is a great battle going on. Tappy, Adam, and then Ollie Bryant behind. And Ollie Bryant is another man who could win the championship, and he has got to get past that Aston Martin. He has sat there now, I would suspect, for long enough. He's got to get on with the job. Through the Melbourne hairpin they come, heading now once more up towards Roberts. Johnny Adam has got stuck behind the McLaren, but Bryant is not close enough to have a go as yet, Charlie Butler-Henderson.
No, definitely not. Bryant just seems to be, well, playing too much of a waiting game, really. There seems to be no desperation with that BMW around the track at all. You can see that Johnny Adam, very, very quick car and quick driver, he's looking a little bit more racy. Hate using that expression, but just have. But Bryant just seems to be just sort of there and thereabouts, really. He really needs to start attacking Adam, to then put pressure on Adam, to then pass the McLaren and then follow on from there.
Now, the race leader has already had a drive-through for overtaking under a yellow flag. The team manager of this car and the team manager of that car in second place, they're both being summoned to see the clerk of the course. So is this anything to do with pit stop times? Is there more to the story? The top two, it's Joe Osborne leading the BMW, Matt Bell is second in the Audi, but these two cars have this Damocletian visit of the team manager to the race director.
Yeah, it seems, you'd think that, you know, I said at the beginning, GT driving's very clean and stuff. There seems to be more reports at the bottom of our TV monitors for people being naughty, black flags not being obeyed by, and all this, and yellow flag being overtaking under yellow flags, than anything I've seen before. GT racing's meant to be a little bit more sedate, isn't it? But obviously not.
Now, we have got Andrew Howard as the championship leader by, 3.5 points from Marco Attard and Ollie Bryant. Now, bearing in mind that you get 37.5 for a win and 27 for second, Ollie Bryant just needs to gain places. He's got to get himself ahead of that Aston Martin. Now, let's hear Andrew Howard's take on life. He could be champion, and Gary Champion is with him.
Andrew, when you got out of that car, you looked as though it had been quite a task, that first stint.
It's an amazingly hard task, actually. After about 40 minutes, we're really losing the tyres, and the front goes first, and you start getting understeer, and then the rear goes. And it's a warm old day. For October, it's a warm old day, so yeah, I don't think I've ever driven like that.
But mind you, I'm not so sure that the stint out of the car is much easier for you, is it?
The stint out of the car is far worse. Ask any driver pairing, and you'd far rather be in the car. Being out of the car, but at least I've got Johnny. You can't get better than Johnny, and you know, so for me, total faith in his hands.
Well, look at the garage behind you. They're all very relaxed and all eating their ice cream. Is it the ice cream of champions, or too early to say?
Should we say in 49 minutes or whatever it is? It's incredibly close, and I mean, what a fantastic end to a great championship.
Okay, great. Thanks very much indeed. We'll get back to commentators.
Gary, thanks. Andrew Howard then can only stand and watch. His car, you're on board with it. Johnny Adam is at the wheel. Ollie Bryant is behind. Johnny Adam needs to get past Duncan Tappy, but he can't do. This is role reversed in a sense from what we had at Brands Hatch, where Johnny Adam was ahead and Duncan Tappy couldn't really do much about him, and then the gap grew. But Johnny Adam looks like he's got the speed, but Duncan Tappy's got wide elbows.
We're going to see a move here. I think in the next 2 or 3 laps, Adam's just been getting closer and closer, showing his inside, showing the nose of the Aston Martin, and just sort of definitely getting ready for a pounce, definitely. And then you've got Bryant sat there, either waiting for it to happen for him, or he needs to get his knuckle down and get stuck into this battle and really get involved in it, because he's just sat there too patiently. Adam flashing his lights then. McLaren blocks the inside line. Adam now on the outside. Is he going to do the cutback to get a really good run? Because Adam was on the racing line, the car in front was on the defending line, but that car has got so much grip on the exit and power in the exit of the corner. Wickedly crane a curve.
At Brands Hatch in the 2-hour race we had there in August, Duncan Tappy for an hour and a bit had at least 2 BMW Z4s glued to the back of him. He did not make a mistake, he did not put a wheel wrong, he did not lose his second place. If you want to find somebody who's sponge-like, can soak up pressure for lap after lap and still do good lap times, and not make a mistake and bring the car home for a good result. This is your man. Duncan in his second year of GT racing, the single-seater career having come to an end, and he is still a much underrated, wrongly so, GT racer. He is a real star in these cars, and you're seeing why. Everybody goes on about Johnny Adam being good, and rightly so, but he can't find a way past Duncan Tappy, and Ollie Bryant is behind. What he needs to be, I would have thought, is right up there, so if a little tiny error comes, he can capitalise on it. But again, look, he's got himself caught up in traffic. He's got himself behind 45, Zoe Wenham, who is third in GT4 at the moment. So Ollie Bryant losing a little bit more time. Down to the Melbourne hairpin they come.
Just as Bryant was actually getting close then, back marker got in the way, and Zoe, she's doing a fantastic job there in that field as well. We've seen her mixing it with the guys a little bit earlier on at the old hairpin. So great racing from her. So he's gone the racing line, gone wide. Now he's going to do the cutback, but like you said, Tappy making that car very, very wide. A bit like Colin White when I raced Ginettas with him. He makes his car so wide, he's impossible to overtake.
But there's nothing dirty in the way Duncan Tappy is driving. Nope. Everywhere you need your car to be, he's already thought about your move, he's already got the car there. This is a masterclass in defensive driving. Right, down through the Craner curves they go, and there's the BMW of Ollie Bryant, which is currently running in 6th place. Ollie Bryant's behind the wheel. Marco Attard is in the pits. He's with Gary Champion.
Well, Marco, there you are, wandering around out the back. I thought you'd be glued to the set.
No, I find it better out the back. Can't see what's going on. You know, there's enough pressure as there is. And
now, that first stint for you seemed to be quite difficult. You were there right at the front, then started to drop back, and so on. Was there an explanation for that?
No, not really. I was just missing a couple of apex and just getting a little bit untidy. But what I didn't want to do was to get involved in a fight. They're desperate for their wins out the front there, which is fine. And unfortunately, Andrew caught me in there. There's no point in putting a fight up and taking us both off, so I thought, well, we'll just go for it and just see the race through from there and see how it goes.
Well, our commentator David Addison says that the BMW seems to have a lot of it seems to have a bit of out on the track. It doesn't quite like the stop-start corners, but it does a lot of stop and not so much start.
Yeah, no, it does. It's very good on the long sweeping corners. It's got great aero, and it really is through the Craners and through some of the old hairpin. It's fantastic. It just doesn't like the stop-start, and we don't have the power of the Aston. That when it's stationary, it can just go. That's what happens out the hairpins, out the back.
35 minutes or so to go. How are the fingernails? Are they chewed down yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just got to leave it to Ollie, and he's just got to do his best, and we'll see.
Great, Marco. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Marco Attard, ex-Ferrari stalwart in his first visit to the British GT Championship well over a decade ago. Then he had quite a few years away selling businesses and building up new businesses and back into racing. He came to Silverstone last year as part of a Curiacos in the Blancpain Endurance Series and had his appetite for racing a BMW whetted and has then stayed on to race in the championship this year. He and Ollie Bryant won the 3-hour race at Silverstone. In GT4, quick catch-up, Declan Jones leads on track ahead of Ryan Ratcliffe. So you've got Duncan Tappy making his way down towards the S's with the 007 Aston Martin tucked up behind. Johnny Adam at the wheel. Ollie Bryant is getting a little bit closer as well, isn't he? Meantime, GT4, Declan Jones leads on the track. He, therefore, would miss out on the championship by 2 points because Ryan Ratcliffe, who is second, there he is in car 44, just needs to sit there now, finish second in class. That's enough to give him the championship.
Yeah, Nathan Freak did a fantastic job of getting him up to the front of that GT4 battle. So Nathan was literally brought in to get the car at the front. Ratcliffe, and it just needs to stay there for the GT4 championship to stay as it is, basically, and for him to win. So coming through a red gate now, on board, loads of action because you've got back markers now, you've got the GT4 championship taking place. Look at the different closing speed and the different grip levels of these cars. Now we're on the wrong line for the Craner curve, we're now on the correct line again, so this is all not helping the Bryant car be able to have a challenge at the Adam car in front of the Aston Martin 007 car. So yeah, it's about where you catch the back markers is really pot luck, to be honest with you.
A drive-through penalty for the race leader. It is for speeding in the pit lane when serving the first drive-through penalty. So, Joe Osborne, this time, the first one was Lee Mole for overtaking under yellows. Joe Osborne, in his haste, sped down the pit lane, and the man that runs the team, Ian Harrison, is back on the pit wall with his headset on, and a furrowed brow. Off the road has gone, is that Mike Simpson's number 16, Janetta? I think it may well be, but the race leader is going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. The team manager of car 25 as well, Matt Bell, has been summoned to the race director. No more news on that. So here, down the pit lane comes Joe Osborne, slowly, slowly, slowly.
And even slower than he probably should be, just to make sure that it's done properly this time. So, very, very impatient to have had a second one, but what a shame. Marshall giving a blue flag at the end of the pit lane, telling the driver that there are cars on the track to be aware, rather than just coming out straight into sideswiping somebody else that's on the track there. So we see the number 8 car that's just done a drive-through penalty. Joe Osborne there, bless him, and let's hope no more bad luck there.
So there on track is Matt Bell as the new race leader. Now we need to see what's going on behind and work out the new race order. This car was a long way back to begin with, wasn't it, having started on the 4th row of the grid, but it came alive midway through Mark Patterson's stint, and there's never been any question at all about Matt Bell's prodigious speed. So Matt now leads the way. Look, he's on his own after the great battles we've had. Rob Barr are flashing in the Ferrari.
I'm coming through.
And there, after its second drive-through, is Joe Osborne. So he now is in 3rd place, ahead of Tappy, who is ahead of Adam. Aston Martin laps Tom Wilson's GT4 Aston Martin. So that therefore means that Joe Osborne has actually only lost 1 place. It could have been a whole lot worse. It
could have been a whole lot worse, yeah. You can definitely see the body language in that car. He's not happy. He's going to drive his absolute socks off even harder now. Joe is a very, very aggressive driver. Worked with him for many years at Bedford Autodrome. Had a few giggles with him over the years. He's a very aggressive, very quick driver. He'll be absolutely fuming in that sort of Batmobile, as it were, the car number 8. That black Z4 looks absolutely stunning, as we see picking it up now as it joins the pit straight through the last corner on this 2.5 mile Donington Park sun-kissed circuit.
The real fascination now is with this car, Matt Bell and Mark Patterson leading the race. And bear in mind that they have not this year yet had a race victory. They could be on for the championship. We need to do some more number crunching when the next gaggle of cars come over the line. Fascinating fact 37, if this car wins the championship, it would be the 3rd year in a row that the British GT champions have not won a race during the course of the season. But we've still got 38.5 minutes, let's not speak too soon.
Yes.
But the car is on track at the moment ahead, so this could be the first victory. There's still some number crunching to do, as I say. There's still a lot that can shake out of the race. Now, down towards the S's, Matt Bell leads at Donington. So is this the champion-elect? Is this the maiden victory for the United Autosports Audi in British GT this year? Mark Patterson and Matt Bell have had a very good, solid season. 2nd at Alton Park being the best result. They've scored points consistently. Still, Johnny Adam is staring at the back of Duncan Tappy's McLaren. He'll go to sleep tonight with that view in his mind.
Yeah, definitely. His body language is looking quite settled, but at the same time, he does want to get past this car desperately.
So, to confirm, Matt Bell and Mark Patterson at the moment are the champions, a 1.5 points up on Andrew Howard. But if Johnny Adam can get past Duncan Tappy, things might change in that situation. So it's very important now that Johnny, I mean, it's not exactly, he wasn't trying to begin with, but it's even more important now that Johnny Adam gets past that McLaren. It is even more imperative that Ollie Bryant does something to try and get himself back onto the tail of the Aston Martin, because that gap is widening.
And he'll be being told this, because the teams are watching what we're saying and listening to what we're saying. They'll be told this, and you can definitely see, look, the body language has completely changed in the car. He's definitely going to make a move in these next couple of laps, and I think it's either going to be a fairly boisterous move, definitely, because he's been patient enough and he's been sat there. He's definitely got the driver's pace over Tappy, but can he do it? It's going to be a brilliant on board this next couple of laps.
But he can't get too boisterous, because what he doesn't want to do is jeopardise a finish at all. So Johnny Adams walking this tightrope now. He's got to get past, but he's got to finish the race.
Yeah.
Through McLean's now.
We're quicker through Redgate, which we've just seen. We're looking a little bit quicker on the entry into McLean's, which is where we just were. We're now into Coppice, so we've got a really good entry level speed over and above the McLaren, the car in front that we keep seeing so much of. But it just seems to have the legs sort of from the mid bit of the corner all the way out of the corner. It just seems to have the legs over the Aston Martin, which is very frustrating. When your foot's flat to the floor as a driver, you're dripping with sweat in the car, you've got a championship at stake, you're doing your absolute best, And now we've got the BMW now on the Aston Martin. So the BMW now has woken up, smelt the coffee and thought, right, I want a piece of this action now. And remember, all this time, the tyres are starting to wear and wear and wear. They're getting hotter and hotter. And then the car's handling changes at the same time. This is fantastic British GT driving and racing at its best. Absolutely brilliant.
And remember that Duncan Tappy has got 75 extra kilos to lug around. You'd think, therefore, that would really hurt him around the Grand Prix loop. On track, this is the battle for 4th place. Duncan Tappy, Johnny Adam, Ollie Bryant. The Aston Martin and the BMW were fighting amongst themselves for a championship, but now if Johnny Adam can get back ahead of Duncan Tappy, then he would be, or at least he would take Andrew Howard to the championship by 1.5 points. So to take a car, but it has proved to be very difficult for effectively 25 minutes. This has been the situation since we'd had the pit stop window completed.
It's just, I'm still loving, I'm just in awe of just what they're doing on the circuit, and it's, you know, wicked to be talking about it, you know, and just absolutely unbelievable stuff. We've also got Richard Westbrook in 7th place, is slowly making his way up through the field. Aaron Scott as well, fastest lap in car number 13, and this is Westbrook. There we go, Richard Westbrook, just talking about him as the cameras pick it up. Known him for many years through karting, British GTs, loads of stuff he's been racing. He's on an absolute charge. He's about nearly 2 seconds quicker than anybody else on the circuit as we speak. Westbrook in 7th place, was in 9th the last time we mentioned him. He's now passed a couple of cars to really push it up, and it could really ruin someone's championship if Westbrook keeps the pace he's doing, and he's a very talented driver, as you and I very well know.
He's the fastest man out there at the moment. He's got nothing to lose. He's here to do a job, and that is to go as quick as he can. To get championships, he can't attack for that. It doesn't matter. He just wants to get on with the job and go quickly. Right, Matt Bell is leading by 4.3 seconds from Rob Bath. Then, despite 2 penalties, Joe Osborne is 3rd, and this is 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Tappy, Adam, Bryant, Westbrook. Richard Westbrook, I would propose, will be able to get past Ollie Bryant, and that's going to be really bad news for Kyrgios for the championship.
Yeah, Westbrook was a second a lap quicker than Bryant, the car in front, which we're just at the tail end of our shot now. We've got that red and black Porsche that's just in the distance coming in to the old hairpin as we speak. Back on board now with the Aston Martin. This is really hotting up now. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Keeping it nice and tight on the way into McLean's. Back on the power again. So yeah, team managers would definitely be talking to these 3 drivers ahead, saying, come on, Westbrook is on a charge, and this could completely change the championship as it sits at the moment. It will look fairly settled until Mr. Westbrook got his hammer down.
Absolutely, and of course until Joe Osborne's penalty put lead of the race. It's not over until it's over. 33 more minutes to go. High drama here last year for 3 hours of racing. High drama in the first hour and a half. We're not done yet. You're back on board with Johnny Adam. You don't need me to tell you that's Duncan Tappy ahead, because that's all we have seen for the last 30 minutes or so. And Johnny Adam, try as he might, can't find a way through. Ollie Bryant is back on his toes, isn't he? But of course, he's now stuck there behind the Aston Martin, so he's got to try and force a situation here where he can get up past Johnny Adam, who doesn't make terribly many mistakes. And Richard Westbrook is right with them now in the Tartan Porsche.
It's all about this Porsche now. It's all about this red and black Porsche that's going to throw this battle into the mix now. Absolutely brilliant stuff. So on the brakes, see the front of that Porsche nose diving down as Westbrook brakes as late as he possibly can. Remember, engines are in the back of the Porsches, different to the cars that are in front of him. It is a very different handling vehicles to what he's going to be just about to overtake, eat and swallow up, I would have thought, in the next few minutes.
Now we've got the cars coming up towards the right-hander of McLean's. There is Duncan Tappy, who is going to get a drive-through for overtaking under yellow flags at turn 7. Duncan Tappy, I'm told by the race director, is going to get a drive-through for overtaking under a yellow flag. Championship situation back on its head, because suddenly Andrew Howard moves up 1 place, and so the pendulum swings back his way. Duncan Tappy doesn't make very many errors. There are other drive-throughs. Car 11, because of too short a pit stop. Car 11 is the Dom Evans Tom Roach Audi for 4.5 seconds, and also Ratcliffe and Parfit's Ginetta, a 1 second stop go for too short a pit stop.
And Westbrook looks very close to doing a move on the BMW Z4 of Bryant in front, and as I say it, thank you very much, Richard.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Curse. No, nonsense.
Right up the inside.
That
easy.
was absolutely brilliant stuff. Textbook stuff. Well done, Richard. Who's going to be next?
Can I go back to penalties for a moment? Because although Ryan Ratcliffe has got a 1 second stop go, the car that's behind him, Zoe Wenham and Rory Bryant, has got an 8 second stop go for too short a pit stop. And the race director is still typing at me on Skype, so there's more news to come, I suspect. But Duncan Tappy then, car 9. The message hasn't yet gone on the timing screen, but I'm told he's going to get this, the drive-through.
Not what you know, David, it's who you know. Not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly right. Anyway, there's a lot to happen. 30 minutes, and the order is going to shuffle once again. You're riding with Johnny Adam. Duncan Tappy is ahead. He's got to serve a drive-through soon for overtaking under a yellow. Join us after the break at Donington as the story continues. Don't blink. You're back at Donington for the final round of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship. It is all action. Matt Bell leads the race ahead of Rob Bath. Joe Osborne is third. Duncan Tappy is fourth, but he has got a drive-through penalty. And then behind him, you have got Johnny Adam. And then Richard Westbrook in the Tartan Porsche. Richard Westbrook is trying to gain ground. Every place he gains is going to be significant for the championship. In GT4, a stop-go penalty for number 44, Ryan Ratcliffe. He's not yet served it. The board is there. The black flag is there to say, come into the pits and serve the penalty. And riding on board with Ryan Ratcliffe, Rick Parfitt Jr. watches on, but they need that car to be in the pit lane. Why has it got a stop-go? Because the pit stop was 1 second too short. It's a 1 second stop-go penalty. But if they keep ignoring the boards and don't serve it, they're going to be in peril. And this car runs second in class on the track, and second in class on the track is enough to give them the championship. So it's very important indeed. So too is what's going on in GT3. Johnny Adam can't get past Duncan Tappy. Richard Westbrook has carved his way up into contention. He's got past Ollie Bryant, and Bryant has now dropped a long way back. Yeah, and these lap times as well. Tappy, Adam and Westbrook, all three of them are sort of hovering lap times of 132.5, 132.6. So Adam definitely responded when that Porsche got up behind him. He definitely responded and made that Aston Martin very, very wide and a bit shorter if Westbrook can help him make it any shorter. Richard Westbrook, we know, is an absolute star. Whatever you put him into, he, for many, many years, was regarded only as a Porsche specialist. He's proved lately that he can do it in anything. And how about this, round the outside at Redgate? It's not going to pay off there, but it was a really good effort, wasn't it? Duncan Tappy has come in to serve his drive-through penalty for overtaking under yellow. So now, this battle is for fourth place on the track. There is Duncan Tappy back into the race. Andrew Howard is going to be back into the lead of the championship, but that could change if the Porsche gets past. And the Porsche does look like it's going to go past, even though Adam has definitely got the pace. That Westbrook Porsche seems to be just at one with each other and seems to be on a right charge. So really looking forward to seeing how Adam can keep the red and black Porsche behind him, driven by the very, very quick Richard Westbrook. If the Aston stays where it is, Andrew Howard is champion. If Westbrook gets past, then Patterson and Bell are going to be champions. So this Aston Martin has got to stay there and hang on to the place. This is absolutely crucial for the Aston Martin, but also Mark Patterson must be getting a bit stressed, Gary Champion.
Well, I think actually, I'd like to say he's getting stressed, but he's not. He's very clean and clear and so on. I mean, this is real sort of roller coaster stuff, isn't it? You've got the championship, you haven't got the championship, you have got the championship. Where is it?
Well, there's a handrail on that roller coaster. I'm holding on pretty tight right now. Coming into this thing, we were 7th in the championship. We had a little bad luck in Zandvoort, so mathematically this could happen. But you know about math, right?
Well, it's a bit more than mathematically. It's happening, let me tell you.
It's happening right now, and if Matt keeps driving the way he's capable of, we should pull this off. So I've got a lot of optimism. He's a pragmatic optimism. He's a great, great driver, great English, 23 years old. Isn't this embarrassing? Our combined age is almost 100.
Well, you just turned to the team manager and said, oh, he's been in and he's had a drive-through penalty, and he just kind of went, yeah, right, and dropped his shoulders and walked on, as if nothing rested on this at all.
No, this is big for us. I'm a grandfather with 2 little grandkids, so to be enjoying this kind of racing is out of this world. Fantastic. This kind of competition where 5 to 7 teams are competing for the championship, and the points are rolling up and scrolling up and down. Fantastic.
Well, we'll pay another 10p and get back on the roller coaster, I think. Thanks very much for talking to us. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got this car, Matt Bell, leading the way. Joe Osborne, by the way, has just pitted again in number 8, and the car has got a problem. It's staggered down to the end of the pit lane, and Joe Osborne is going to get out of it. Now, It had pitted, it stopped, it went, and it stopped again. So there's something not right about all of this. The leader has gone by. The BMW, even if it could rejoin, has lost a lap. So Rob Bell is the leader, and Matt Bell is the leader, and Rob Barth is second. 3 seconds between them. Up into third place is about to go Johnny Adam. That would give him 130 points, and even if Patterson and Bell won, that gives Andrew Howard the championship. So there's nothing more Matt Bell can do. He now needs people to get past Johnny Adam, and there is Joe Osborne stomping up the pit lane, not at all happy. Down the pit lane is coming to serve its stop-go penalty, one hopes, number 44, except I think that's more of a drive-through than a stop-go, but anyway, it is in.
Rick Parfitt Jr. there, bottle of water in tow, probably still very sleepy from his gig last night, looking on. Oh, this is all happening, but the fact that Osborne just parked his car at the end of the pit lane and just left the door open and stopped back to the pit. It's very odd. It's really odd, the fact they didn't park with his team. Yes,
not quite sure what all that's about, but hopefully we'll get to the answer, as there is the Aston Martin of Johnny Adam.
These two have definitely settled down, haven't they?
Yes.
Absolutely settled down.
But as far as the championship is concerned, we need the Aston to lose 2 places to give Matt Bell a chance. Richard Westbrook pounces on the way down towards the S's. Johnny Adam can afford to let him go, because even if he's behind him, he's still going to outscore Patterson and Bell. So that, I think, was pretty shrewd. He doesn't have to defend from that Porsche. He can just let him go and take the points.
Remember, these are the drivers obviously are talking in contact all the time with their team. That might have been a little message. There was a little puff of something that came out of the Aston, unless it was just offline and there was a bit of cement dust that just puffed up from the back of the Aston. Don't know, but hopefully there's not a problem.
I think Johnny Adams being very clever about this. He will know the championship situation, and as long as he can hang on to what is, as he comes over the line now, 4th, that's good for Andrew Howard for the title. Shall we just remind you of what the race order is? Matt Bell is leading from Rob Barth. Richard Westbrook is now up into 3rd place. Johnny Adam there is 4th, and that's enough to give Andrew Howard the championship. With in 5th place, Ollie Bryant, and 6th, Aaron Scott. Duncan Tappy is 7th after his drive-through. In 8th place is Tom Sharp. 9th is Phil Keen's Porsche. And 10th is Charlie Hollings' Ferrari, the car for AF Corsa that he shares with Jack Dwyver. So it has been a very, very busy race indeed. Matt Bell is leading it, but he can do no more. He now needs people to get ahead of Johnny Adam. That means Ollie Bryant needs to get on with this. In fairness, Johnny Adams' last lap was not a quick one, but of course time was lost defending, wasn't it, initially from Richard Westbrook, then he decided to let him go. But it is worth monitoring the Adam lap times to see whether or not the car is wilting a bit.
And just to see if Bryant can also put that pressure on, which he hasn't seemed to have proved to have done earlier on when he was needed to have a little pop at the Aston Martin earlier on. So we'll keep an eye on Adam and Bryant throughout the last 20 minutes of this race.
It's gone quickly, hasn't it? There is the car in 2nd place. This is Rob Barth. Now, Andrew Howard provisionally is the champion by 1.5 points from Bell and Patterson, unless the Aston Martin loses a place before the very end of the wheel of it. Johnny hasn't got the same number of points going into the race as Andrew Howard. Marco Attard and Ollie Bryant would be 3rd, and then Johnny Adam next up if things stay as they are. There's the flying Richard Westbrook coming down through the Craner curves, running 3rd on track, and he's not actually lapping as quickly, surprisingly, as Matt Bell. The Audi is really going very impressively indeed. In GT4, these cars now are running on different laps. Bradley Ellis, former outright British GT champion, is 27th, and 44, which is the other car in the mix, is that of Ryan Ratcliffe, and that is 2nd in class to Declan Jones. That's enough still to give them the championship, don't forget.
Yeah, and you've got obviously these little Ginettas, you know, they're having their own battle, as I've mentioned throughout this race.
Yeah.
It's so important that they still keep using their mirrors, they still keep looking at the marshal's post, and that the faster drivers are sensible where they make these moves stick. You know, that's a nice clean move there we can see from one of the faster cars further back on the grid. Now here we are on board in the said Ginetta.
Now this is on board with Ryan Ratcliffe, the Ginetta G50. We are currently on board, and this is McLean's.
So through McLean's, taking the curb on the inside, running as wide as you possibly dare. There's a bit of grasscrete on the left-hand side that you can run a little bit wide. Into Coppice, just down into third gear, turning in blind. Very easy to get it wrong at Coppice because the car goes light over the crest. As we then power down, this is where the old Dunlop Bridge used to be. There, we had half a tyre over the circuit. That used to be a good marker point, now gone. So now braking into the chicane. And just saw the standings there that came up on the screens. Hopefully you got a good glimpse of that as we were talking you through a lap here around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. Now dropping down, very easy to outbrake yourself. The car is light at the back end as you're braking down quite a steep hill there, down into the Melbourne Loop. Sequential gearbox, unlike some of the other cars, have got paddle sequential, so they don't have to take their hand off the wheel as much as these guys do. And these guys are using the clutch on the way down, blipping the throttle as they go down, and as you can see, a flying Porsche on the inside there. That's been great at overtaking. Yeah. Michael Caine there, decisive mood, in, out, and just gone straight away, past and gone as we go down past the pit straight. So then braking through into Redgate. Back on the power again on the exit, and this is a really brave section there, so we can stay on board for this last little bit. So up into fourth, now fifth gear, little confidence lift as the tyres are starting to wear out throughout the race. Middle of the road, braking down a gear, tight to the inside, now back on the power again, running wide on the exit, using every inch of track. Donington Park is such a flowing circuit, you really need to have momentum to be fast around Donington. And it's just unbelievably smooth to drive on as well. And this is where we picked it back up again into McLean's. There you go, GT4 standings.
And there is Rick Parfitt Jr. There, hiding behind the debris fence on the pit wall, is Dad. So Ryan Ratcliffe, Rick Parfitt Jr. by 2 points would be, if things stay as they are, the champions from Declan Jones. And then it would be Zoe Wenham next, ahead of Matt Smith and Dan Eagling, who took a win at Zandvoort. So things are starting perhaps to resolve themselves now in the classes. I don't think the race has finished by any stretch, has it? Because Richard Westbrook is still pounding on, but he's got to make up after Gregor Fiskin's spin about 25 seconds before he can attack the race leaders. And Matt Bell and Rob Barth very evenly matched. There's the second of the BMW Z4s. Piers Johnson at the wheel for Barwell, car that he shares with Ron Johnson. 79 Ollie Bryant, meantime, is not matching the pace of Johnny Adam. That one lap was a blip from Johnny when he had to defend from Westbrook and then let him go. He's settled into a rhythm and he's doing just what he needs to do now to take the title.
Yeah, being very, very sensible, very experienced driver, ex-British touring car driver, yes. Been around a very long time. Young looking, but been around a long time.
Actually, when I say enough to take the title, I should add to the end of that sentence for his co-driver Andrew Howard, because yes. Johnny can't be champion, but Andrew Howard could. So down he comes to the Melbourne hairpin once more. 007, the number on the door. Johnny Adam doing the hard work as he has done all season, but Andrew Howard set to take the title provisionally. Start all that well when the car was harpooned by John Minshall's Porsche at Alton Park. There, 79, Ollie Bryant, and a spin for 42. That rejoining now is the Luke Hines, Derek Johnston Ginetta. Remember we saw that damage at the very start of the race? Yes. Well, it's gone back out, but 45 laps down, and I'm afraid life gets no better for Luke Hines. There is the race leader. Matt Bell has now got just over 15 minutes to go. He's on lap number 66, and he's continuing to build his advantage over Rob Barth in this championship showdown here at Donington Park. Ryan Ratcliffe, meantime, heading for GT4 Championship success, but Matt Bell, who's not had a victory in the Championship all season, looks as though he is going to win the last round, but Andrew Howard is now on for the title unless something befalls the Aston Martin. If that car were to lose one place, that would change the Championship once again. They would lose, or Andrew Howard would lose by 1.5 points rather than win by 1.5 points, and therefore really the person that can now influence the outcome is Ollie Bryant. But as we have seen, for whatever reason, because Ollie's an experienced driver, he just can't stay on the back and can't attack the Aston.
Yeah, no, it's disappointing from our point of view up in the commentary box, and I'm sure him and his team's point of view, because I'm sure he's driving his absolute socks off out there, but still can't get on the back of that Adam 007 Aston Martin, which is looking set to take the championship with Howard. But commentators curse
and all that,
yeah, and all that. But you can see the race is starting to settle down a little bit now. But let's see if we can have a little look at some GT4, the battle going on a little bit further down the field.
There's Ryan Ratcliffe, who lost time, of course, when he had to serve the penalty pit stop for the fact that his obligatory pit stop was too short. He, on track, is being caught by this car. Richie Stanaway, the Kiwi, very, very successful single-seater racer, part of Aston Martin's WEC programme as well, coming to British GT this weekend. That car is catching, but because it's not registered for the championship, it can't score points. So actually, even if Stanaway gets on the back of Ratcliffe, Ryan Ratcliffe can let him go and still take the points to win the class in the championship. That's not an issue, but the battle is certainly on track, hotting up between the two.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see the shot there when we do pick up again the next laps and throughout the rest of the race. All the stones that have been flicked up as well from people spinning or going off or even cutting the corner too much at the chicane. And if you do an overtaking manoeuvre there on those marbles, it really is like slipping over on marbles underneath your feet and underneath your tyres. Now, a bit of bodywork underneath the car, so a little bit of trim underneath the Ginetta that we've seen, just flapping around. It doesn't look serious. We mentioned it earlier on in the race. The car is still going absolutely strong, completely strong, but you just get little shots of it just flapping around underneath that Ginetta, but obviously not causing it too much problem.
Ginetta's are good, strong cars, though. You know, they will soldier on to the end, and the championship in GT4 really did come to a head at Zandvoort with the two championship contending teams both in the wars in terms of damaged cars, and then technical infringements affected others, and there was some controversy about whether one team would be allowed to use a spare car. It wasn't agreed by every team because, of course, the one that was being the main rival in the championship wouldn't agree to it, so it all got a little bit fractious. But I think it's going to come down to Rick Parfitt Jr. and Ryan Ratcliffe taking honours for GT4 in the championship. It's been a very competitive season, but at the moment it is 43 that leads the Century Motorsport car. Nathan Frink started, Declan Jones is behind the wheel. We have got 12 more minutes to go. Rob Barth, last lap through, did a personal best lap, but Matt Bell, I think, has now pegged that gap at 5 seconds. Richard Westbrook too far back really to do much about him. So are we looking at a settled order up front? It's been a tremendous first 45 minutes to this second hour of the race, hasn't it, with all the shuffling and all the championship machinations, things swinging back and forth. But ultimately it looks as though we're going to have an Audi win, but an Aston Martin driver take the GT title, and it's going to be a Ginetta to win GT4 on track, but a different Ginetta team, those driving for Optimum Motorsport. Rick Parfitt Jr., Ryan Ratcliffe here to take the championship. There is the car that's closed right up on track. Richie Stanaway at the wheel of it, but remember, that's not going to score points. So if Ryan Ratcliffe is doing the sensible thing and Optimum are doing the right thing on the pit wall, they'll tell him to let him go, and that call, I think, has just come. Yeah,
there you go. Nice, easy, bit of a late move, but, you know, it looked very, very preempted, didn't it? Like, we're going to overtake you here. Very, very clean. We're the quicker car, we're just about to pass you and move away. And from a driver's point of view as well, you know, you've got 11 minutes left of the race, you've got the whole team rooting for you, you've had a whole year of hard work, it's hot in there, you're still pushing as hard as you possibly can, the car is slightly going off because of the handling of the car and the tyres, etc., different fuel loads. There's so much still going on in the car, and you are very much looking forward to the checkered flag after a hard season.
Absolutely, and of course for the drivers only the one stint, they don't have to get back into the cars as the race continues here at Donington. Richard Westbrook still pounding on in third place. He can only do one thing, and that is to go flat out. In fairness to Richard, that's how he drives anyway, because normally that is his job in life, to be the gun for hire, to go as quick as you can. He made his Ferrari debut here over the weekend at the end of August, 1st of September, driving for Team Ukraine in another GT championship, his first ever Ferrari races. He took a couple of second places, now back behind the wheel of a car in which he has won at Rockingham this year, the Fiskins Porsche, and he comes over the timing line now. He is lapping in the 31s, not enough to really close the gap to those ahead. And Johnny Adam in the background doing everything right, circulating at a good metronomic pace now, helping Andrew Howard take the championship. You've got to feel a bit sorry for Matt Bell and Mark Patterson, because they could do no more. No, exactly. They've got themselves into such a position, and everyone else is just strategically, as a car we see there going off. That, I think, is 45, is it? The Rory Brighton, Zoe Wenham, Ginetta. Let's have a look in a moment as down in the pit garages, life Beachdeed is only 9 minutes away from celebration time. Do they do a champagne-flavoured ice cream? They might need to.
Yeah, I definitely think there'll be ice creams all round in that pit garage later on, unless they're fed up with them, because they've had them all year.
Well, there is the troubled Ginetta.
Deciding to move on again.
Yeah, I think it's the Rory Bryant car.
Bit of a wheel spin on the grass.
In a moment, I'll be proved wrong. It'll be the Dan Eagling, Matt Smith car. No, it is 45. I was right. It is Rory Bryant. That was 4th in GT4, but it's got going again, as you say. 8.5 minutes to go. 3 or 4 laps time. We're going to start to see, I suspect, those that have rolled the dice on fuel and might need to back it off. That's something else just to look for in the last couple of laps. I'm sure that the teams aren't going to have a problem, but it's just something to factor into the last lap or two, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with the Porsches as well.
Yeah.
They do struggle on fuel, so they have to change the different mapping on the little buttons on the steering wheel, very similar to the Formula 1 steering wheels if you've watched that on television. They've got so many different buttons, pit lane speed limiters, pit to radio buttons, and they can change the settings of the ECU to control the traction control and to make the car use less fuel as well. So drivers are also thinking about that. Very embarrassing for a team after putting all this effort in, spending all this money to run out of fuel in the last couple of laps. We've seen it happen, we still see it happen. It can happen, and it's down to the driver and the technicians looking at the data logging as to what is as to the fuel levels.
Because some teams, as you see Rory Bryant struggling back to the pit lane, Zoe Wenham's championship hopes gone here, by the way, because that car's out of the race. There's 53, which is the Aston Tom Wilson, who's had a spin
from the exit of the Melbourne Loop.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, and
another one.
Let's have another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The grass is slippery.
What I was going to say was teams, if they are thinking about fuel, may have thought, yeah, but we're going to get a safety car in the second stint. Well, we've gone through the second stint without a safety car, so if you've banked on that, you're going to be found out.
Yes, definitely. So the driving definitely seemed to clean its act up a little bit towards the second half of the race. So there we go, as he gathers his thoughts back again, has a deep breath, goes again and tries to put in a few more consistent laps at the last 7 minutes. That car definitely looked, and I heard slightly a mechanical noise as that was coming through Coppice Corner. It's parked just on the right, on the back straight, where the Dunlop Bridge used to be.
Is that a safety car period to get that moved? I'll put him on the spot here.
That's a tough call. It's parked. It could have parked further over to the right, but it's nearly got it back to the pits.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it's in a dangerous place, personally, no.
Actually, 6.5 minutes to go. By the time we've got a safety car out and a snatch vehicle and moved it and got the race restarted, we'll be done and dusted. So, actually, no, let's just have a natural finish of the race if we can now. Right, traffic is still a factor as drivers pound down towards Redgate Corner.
This is great stuff. So you can see all the buttons there on the steering wheel if you have a little look at that on your TV screens at home or at the circuit. So lots of things for the driver to be looking at, controlling, thinking about during the race. It's not all about keeping it out of the scenery and being fast. It's also about working as a team and listening to your engineers on the pit lane. So, kissing the curb on the inside, running wide, climbing up the hill slightly, ever so slightly, then into the left-hander, flat out, dabbing the brakes, down a gear, squeeze the power back in. Easy to get understeer at that corner, very, very easy to run wide as well. Changing up a gear quickly, just before you need to brake, down a gear. Turn through Coppice, past this stricken car on the right-hand side that we've just talked about. It seems to have, there it is, just there on the right-hand side, so that's definitely not in the danger zone, that's absolutely fine. Okay. Then moving over to the right-hand side, ready for the Grand Prix racing line circuit into Fogarty chicane, kissing the curb. In fact, no Muller in the curb. Yeah, it's only a few laps to go, it's the car's going to get rebuilt for next year, I'll just Muller the curbs, don't worry about it. Then braking, passing some slower traffic, which will then slightly hinder this particular lap time because we've had to go in slightly tighter. Try not to get wheel spin on the exit, and what a great shot there, that BMW that we've just been on board with. Brilliant stuff.
It is, for my money, a stunning bit of kit the BMW Z4. Them in GT racing. I suppose Mark VDS Racing is one of the top teams internationally, but Ecuriacos, which took this car, in fact, to championship class success in the European Le Mans Series a week ago, and you're looking at Ollie Bryant turning his way around Redgate, so this car gets no respite. It does British GT, it does ELMS. Meantime, in GT4, Ryan Ratcliffe is still on target for a championship. There he is, and although he's running third, it's really second on points. And on the pit wall, his co-driver, Rick Parfitt Jr., is starting to force a smile. There are more and more cameras arriving to take shots of Junior, but Dad actually looks a tenser. He's the one leaning over the pit wall. Junior's bouncing up and down on his toes. Dad is studying everything he can here, as there they are, and the car's just gone past the pits, and we've got 4 more minutes to go. Who looks the more nervous? Gary's there. Gary, let's have a word with the Parfits.
Let's have a quick word, Rick. You're jumping up and down, and Dad's all relaxed.
Yeah, I think he's mildly sedated or something, to be perfectly honest with you, which wouldn't be unusual. No, I can't do that. A couple more laps to go. I'm very pumped. Obviously, it means a lot. We've really boxed clever the whole race. You know, we've kind of driven with our heads. You know, there was no point in getting involved with any of the non-point scoring teams. Ryan could have taken Declan earlier on. We got better tyres, but we opted to stay behind him. We had a stop-go, which dropped us back and made us a little bit nervous. And now we're just maintaining the gap. We know that obviously finishing third is still technically finishing second in the championship points for this round, which means that we would be British champions. So two more laps or so.
So did you make a decision to just sort of hold on to the status quo?
Oh, please.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. Let's quick look at Dad. He says you're sedated. You're too laid back about all this.
Well, I mean,
so chilled out.
This is rock and roll.
Yeah, but
this is true rock and roll.
It's till the finish line, is it? It's never over till then. So we've got another lap to go yet.
Or it's not over till the fat lady sings, but I'm not sure she's coming.
I hope she's not. I've seen her before.
So it's down to you.
Down to me.
Thanks, Rick. Great.
Brilliant.
So, life on the pit wall is about as fun as it can be, given the tension. Rick Parfitt Jr. has done a great job. He has done quite a lot of celebrity racing in his time, but he's been a serious Ginetta racer for a good few years, moving into GT racing this year. And just a final word about Rick. He makes no bones about the fact he's an ambassador for as well the Foundation for Crohn's disease, from which Rick is a sufferer, and he's aware that might well affect his future in racing. He's going to make the most of it while he can, but he's done a great job. So has this man, Johnny Adam, who is on target to give Andrew Howard a championship. We are within the last 2 minutes of the race, within the last 2 minutes of the championship. 2 hours has flown by, hasn't it? This is the potential championship situation as it stands. Andrew Howard would win by 1.5 points from Matt Bell and Mark Patterson, and when they came here, Andrew Howard had 0.5 points advantage over Attard and Bryant, and Patterson and Bell were very much the outsiders. They've been the real beneficiaries out of all of this. Attard and Bryant will slip behind them. Johnny Adam, of course, having to do his own thing really with penalty points, would be next on 119.5. Well, what a race, Charlie.
Absolutely brilliant. Just watching Johnny Adam going around the track there, just effortless, just very, very smooth. And there we got his teammate that could be champion chatting. Where's your ice cream? Get your ice cream.
Don't look at the screens though, dare he?
No, he didn't. He's very, very, very nervous.
Gary, it's all yours. Go for it.
I've only come here not to congratulate you, but obviously to get the champagne ice cream.
Oh, well, yeah. Champagne and
You've missed a trick.
Absolutely, we have. Yeah, I haven't really been thinking about that today, to be honest. So we've still got another minute left yet.
Oh, for goodness sake, you old doubter, you.
Yeah, let's get the checkered flag. Look, it's in front of us now.
You came here with 0.5 point up. Now you're going to go away with a 1.5. So, you know, it's a win-win.
Triple my advantage. It's fantastic. Yeah.
It's 300% better than it was this morning.
Yeah. And a lot of credit needs to go to Johnny, because if this stays, he finishes fourth in the championship, and for me, he's an absolute winner. So, very cool.
But when you got out of the car, that was a hefty stint as well.
Yeah, but it takes two of us and the whole team, everybody. You know, we've had an up and down year this year. So, anyway, come on, let's go.
Well done, congratulations. Well done.
Andrew Howard is set to take the championship. Matt Bell, what a drive. It's been perhaps a little bit overlooked in all the championship drama, and at one point they were going to be champions as well. It's not panned out that way, but Matt Bell is going to score with Mark Patterson his first British GT win of the season. An absolutely brilliant drive by Matt, and in fairness to Mark Patterson, what a stint he turned in early on in the race. They've got a couple of corners to go. United Autosports is set to end the year with a race win. The championship may not go their way, but the race victory will. I think the biggest cheer on the pit wall is going to go from Optimum, because they're going to win GT4. Rick Parfitt is already on the debris fence to cheer, but Matt Bell and Mark Patterson win the last round of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship. Mark Patterson is all smiles. Second there, Rob Bath and Gary Eastwood. Third in the background in about 20 seconds time will be Richard Westbrook, and this is Johnny Adam, who has driven the absolutely perfect team race. He's been very, very good at keeping out of trouble. He's run at a very fast pace when required, and he's going to give Andrew Howard the title. This is GT4. Ryan Ratcliffe and Rick Parfitt Jr. win the GT4 championship. Two absolutely delighted drivers. Rick Parfitt Jr., who is hanging onto the debris fencing on the pit wall, is absolutely overjoyed, and understandably so. You've heard from him about a minute ago. There is Andrew Howard crossing the line to win, Johnny Adam in the Aston Martin, to give Andrew Howard the British GT title. Johnny Adams' perfect season blotted slightly at Snetterton. Andrew Howard, though, takes the championship. Meantime, they are rocking and rolling at last, the Parfitts. And for GT3, Andrew Howard takes the championship. There's Duncan Tappy coming home in 7th. And Andrew Howard, now I think the emotion of what he's achieved is starting to sink in. It has been an excellent season for Andrew. He began in Mini Miglia racing quite a few years ago, and he's got better and better at a GT car season on season. You've got to feel sorry for Johnny Adam. I know that it was his driving offence that cost him the points, but he's done, apart from that, the perfect season to help Andrew Howard take the championship. Is it worth having another word with Andrew Howard? We can now call him British GT champion. Gary Champion, I think, is down there, having asked about ice cream. We can now find out how Andrew feels. Gary.
Get the golf record.
Well, the 60 seconds has gone by, and now look, you know, I told you were going to be champion.
Yeah, what a premonition. Absolutely, what a premonition. Absolutely amazing. What a fantastic championship to win. So, absolutely chuffed to bits, and it's a normal. Thanks to the team. Thanks to everybody. Fantastic.
Great. Well done. Well done. Let's get a word with John Gore if we can. I think should be around. Where is he? John Gore, where have you gone, you monkey? There he is, there he is. Hang on. John Gore! Well done, look at that. What a fantastic day for you boys and Aston Martin. You bent one, but you won a championship with another one.
It was never in doubt, was it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there were any nervous faces. Don't think anyone was bothered at all, to be honest.
I quite enjoyed that, to be honest with you, and I'd rather have been on the pit wall than in the car. That's the honest truth. But fantastic for Andrew. You know, really, really pleased. He's been a big supporter of the brand for such a long time, and it's been a terrific partnership. You know, both on and off the track. And really pleased for Johnny as well. You know, he's really come of age and he's really helped Andrew make it happen. But you know, as I said to Andrew, I think his stint in the last few races has really won him the championship, you know, so it's not Johnny that's won the championship for him. He for sure has won the championship on his own, and you saw that in his stint today. He made it happen.
John, thank you. Those some great plaudits. Go and get yourself a champagne ice cream.
I think we'll do that.
Thank you very much indeed.
And there down the pit lane is coming Ryan Ratcliffe. Rick Parfitt stood in front of the car, banged his fists on the bonnet in celebration. He's absolutely overjoyed, so is Ryan Ratcliffe. And Charlie Butler-Henderson, we've just witnessed, and it's gone in a flash, 2 hours of drama. What a race.
It has been unbelievable, especially being opposite the Parfitt family on the pit wall,
Yes.
seeing everything going on before even the cameras picked up on it. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant driving from 90% of people. Some really shoddy driving for some others, you know, black flags, penalties, pit lane drive-throughs, and GT driving is a massive team effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just proved that.
Yes, we talk about the people behind the wheel, but there's everybody else, the engineers, the mechanics, helping to make the cars as successful, as durable. And British GT racing that began here, the British GT Championship in 1993, has never been this good. Mark Patterson and Matt Bell win the last round of the Avon Tires British GT Championship from Gary Eastwood and Rob Bath. Gregor Fiskin and Richard Westbrook third from Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam, the new champion. Andrew Howard, Marco Attard and Ollie Brandt fifth ahead of John Dillon and Aaron Scott. Demustier and Tappy dropped to seventh ahead of White and Sharp. Minshaw and Keane ninth. Jack Dwiver and Charlie Hollings round out the top 10. Then it is Mark Poole and Richard Abra ahead of Atman Ahafi and Michael Caine, who says goodbye to his championship reign in British GT. Jason Minshaw and Ben Hetherington 13th ahead of Piers and Ron Johnson. Phil Burton and Adam Wilcox come home 15th. Well, there is Matt Bell, who drove brilliantly, and Mark Patterson. They can celebrate a race win, a job well done, and Matt did an absolutely great job behind the wheel of the United Autosports Audi. A race win, sadly not a championship success though.
Well, look at the congratulations going on down here. Do you have any of these? Deservedly so. What a stint.
Well, yeah, it was brilliant, really. I mean, the guys did a great pit stop. I think we made up 17 seconds on the lead too in the pit stop, so I came out on the tail of 1 and 2. I had a great battle with Robbie. I got him up the inside of turn 1. He got me back in going down Crater Curves and eventually got him back somewhere else. Obviously it was unfortunate for Joe. I think it was teeing up to be quite a good race there towards the end. We were tit for tat. I think in between traffic I was going to catch him, but unfortunately he got a penalty. But yeah, you know, at the end of the day I'm pretty happy with the result that we got. Obviously P1. Congratulations to Beach Dean that just pipped us to the championship. So it's slightly bittersweet, but I'll still celebrate tonight nonetheless.
Absolutely. And Mark?
Yeah, I'm back again. he did all right, huh? He did all right.
Well, I think you both did all right, really, to be fair.
We had a ball. Fantastic. The car was great. I mentioned that before. We had some good competitors. Everybody played clean. This is the way a championship should end. Wonderful, wonderful racetrack to do it on.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks a lot.
Well, they missed out on the championship by 1.5 points, but at one stage of the season it looked as though they were never going to be able to fight for the crown at all. This is how it ended up. Andrew Howard wins the 10-round championship by 1.5 points from Matt Bell and Mark Patterson. Marco Attard and Ollie Bryant come next ahead of Johnny Adam. Michael Caine, last year's champion with Ahmad Al-Hathi, then Nick Tandy, and Dan Brown and Steve Tandy, who we lost from the race early on. Then GT4, new champions Ryan Ratcliffe and Rick Parfitt, 2 points up on Declan Jones. Then Matt Smith and Dan Eagling. Then you have James May and Alex Osborne from Zoe Wenham, with Tom Wilson and Steve Chaplin rounding out the leaderboard in GT4. 2 points in GT4, 1.5 points in GT3. What an ultra-competitive GT season we've had in the UK. People now talk about this being the most competitive domestic championship there is. I tell you, it has come a long, long way since April 1993, when the British Racing Drivers Club had an 8-car grid for the first ever British GT race. It was all Porsches, John Greasley and Ross Hyatt with 935s and a variety of opposition. And now we have the envy of the GT world. So a tremendous race here at Donington for the final round of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship. We've got more racing to come from Donington this afternoon. Final rounds of Ginetta and Volkswagen. And that means the action will continue here right after the break. Welcome back to Donington for our afternoon of British GT and Volkswagen Racing Cup and Ginetta action. You were looking a moment ago at the end of Nick Tandy's championship dreams, as David Ashburn, who had retired the spotty track speed Porsche early in the race, that car being retrieved, and now winning drivers make their way out onto the podium here at Donington. This is GT3's podium. This is third place, Richard Westbrook and the bespectacled Gregor Fiskin. For second place, Gary Eastwood and Rob Barth. Just as at Zandvoort, now very much forces to be reckoned with in the championship. Rob, the slighter of the two figures, Gary in the Ferrari red overalls. But the race winners, two excellent performances turned in by Mark Patterson and Matt Bell. They will stand on the top step of the podium after their first victory of the season. The championship eluded them by 1.5 points, but they're all smiles because, deservedly so, they have won a tremendous end to the championship here at Donington. So Mark Patterson and Matt Bell, who have made a very good partnership in GT racing in this Pro-Am format. That's Brian Davis of Cooper Tyres, who makes his way to present the trophies to Richard Westbrook, to Gregor Fiskin. Gregor, remember, had a spin early on when running in second place, so Richard was always going to be up against it to recover after that. The trophy's given for the second place drivers, Gary Eastwood, then to Rob Barth in the black overalls there. But Mark Patterson and Matt Bell score victory. Matt gets his trophy, and the stint that he did was absolutely fantastic. He did at one point have the fastest lap of the race. Ultimately, Aaron Scott took that away from him. But on the top step of the podium, Matt Bell and Mark Patterson take honours in the last round of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship, and the first victory of the season for an Audi as well. United Autosports, the Anglo-American team run by Richard Dean and Zach Brown. And that is a team that has nurtured Matt Bell as a driver ever since he started in Ginetta G20s many seasons ago. And it was always, I think, Matt's destiny to go into top-line GT racing. He's raced this year in the Blancpain Endurance Series. He has raced in the ADAC GT Masters. That, however, is the British GT champion of 2013. It is Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam. He makes his way onto the podium as well. Johnny, who has been his co-driver all season, and the two of them sadly can't celebrate a joint title because of the points deduction from Johnny, but Andrew Howard there, complete with his Blancpain clock. He's also the leading gentleman driver as well as being the champion. It's turning out to be a pretty good day, isn't it, for him here at Donington Park? And
that's some trophy, isn't it, on the left?
Absolutely.
That is absolutely awesome. Struggling to hold it.
Yes.
But there's going to be lots of celebrations of that team. When I spoke to them earlier, there was just such a real good, massive team effort that they were all saying how much of a team it was, and here's the champagne.
We talk about drivers developing year on year as Andrew Howard soaked up the champagne, but so do teams, inevitably, I suppose. The more you take part in something, the better you will get, and we've talked in the course of the race about Andrew Howard as a much better driver, but the Beach Dean team has also improved a pace.
Yeah, definitely. And from Johnny Adams' point of view, when you meet up with the amateur driver, you coach them throughout the year. You go on private track days. You do one-to-one coaching with them, and you really do try and hone put what you've learnt throughout motorsport and your natural talent into then the amateur driver, and that's definitely paid off with most of the grid there that you can see. The faster driver is the driver coach as well, training the amateur driver up. So we've seen that perfect example there with the championship win.
The pro drivers have got to their level, haven't they, pretty much, whereas the AMs can still develop. And so if you can get your amateur driver to learn a few more tricks and find a bit more speed, that's for the overall good.
And hopefully continue to pay for your racing.
Oh, that's as well, yes.
That is a slight financial benefit there
see,
as
that's
well.
spoken like a true racer, you see, that rather more mercenary streak.
Yeah, you obviously rely on the amateur racer to pay for your racing, and then the tuition comes part of that deal, that you race with the partner,
right,
and they pay for the racing. So there's a little sweetener as well on the side that you do carry on racing for a bit of coaching.
Sorry,
it's a good deal.
Foolishly, I was looking at it from an enthusiast's point of view there. I forgot about your bank account, Charlie.
What bank account?
Let's have another look just to confirm the race results, and it was a win for Patterson and Bell from Eastwood and Bath, Fiskin and Westbrook, and fourth is where you find Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam ahead of Marco Attard and Ollie Bryant, then John Dillon and Aaron Scott. Great shame that Duncan Tappy had that overtake under the yellows, because that dropped him and Gregoire de Moustier for 7th. Quick look down. GTC won by Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz, but GT4, Declan Jones and Nathan Freak hung on to win. The non-point scoring Harry Whale and Richie Stanaway behind, and then Ryan Ratcliffe and Rick Parfitt Jr. third in the class, and the new champions as well. Behind them, Matt Smith and Dan Eagling ahead of Steve Chapman and Tom Wilson's Aston Martin, and then after a trip into the gravel, James May and Alex Osborne, and problems right at the end for Rory Bryant, having taken over from Zoe Wenham. A race of high drama, and the podium here at Donington is now ready to greet the new GT4 champions. They come out first of all as the third place drivers, Ryan Ratcliffe and Rick Parfitt, then Richie Stanaway and Harry Whale. One drives for AMR, the other works at AMR. They take second. And the top step of the podium as the race winners will be Declan Jones and Nathan Freak, who runs the car, who is a very rapid driver as well, ex-Formula Ford champion. And they help themselves to the trophies, because clearly they're in a big hurry.
Nathan's actually better. He missed the last Rockingham Touring Car round, didn't he? Or the previous round at Rockingham. He wasn't very well, so he's now back on form again and did a fantastic job in that car.
Absolutely. And Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz join the podium as the GTC class winners. Brian Davis from Avon Tyres once again steps forward to hand over the trophies.
Eventually hand the trophies over.
Yes.
They're like, oh, these look nice.
Rick Parfitt and Ryan Ratcliffe nearest the camera, third on the podium, but of course the class champions, so there'll be a bit of a shuffle around, I suspect, in a moment to put them on the top step. Richie Stanaway, the Kiwi, Harry Whale, whose dad Nick was a very successful club racer, had a spell in the BTCC, now the man behind Silverstone Auctions, and there Declan Jones and Nathan Freak win GT4 at Donington. Very, very impressive drive by both of them. Declan Jones, who's not been racing for that long, but has been a very rapid Ginetta peddler, and again he's been helped by Nathan Freak. Class winners Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz at the other end of the podium. And so after another cracking race here at Donington Park, the GT4 celebrations on the podium about to get underway, headed of course by the new champions Rick Parfitt and Ryan Ratcliffe, both of whom have a good Giannetta pedigree and now celebrate GT4 Championship honours at Donington Park. We are going to be back with the finale to the APR Volkswagen Racing Cup here from Donington Park very shortly. The cars are already on the grid. Aaron Mason took the championship early on in the day. However, it's going to be gloves off to determine the minor placings for the APR Volkswagen Racing Cup. Cars on grid, action underway right after the break.